We're live.
Everyone, I hope that this is live across the world, and welcome to the third episode of the second season of Second Sons, remaining a lot of alliterative S's, which drives, of course, my fluent but poor English crazy. As always, I'm Roy Rogers, formerly of the New York City Meta, currently of my apartment Meta, which now has a sweet, fake plant litter box there. And
does your plant have a name?
It doesn't. Rusebane maybe could be its name because she spends about a third of her life attacking the plant now. And with me today is most of our usual crew, although we are joined by a special guest. But first off today, Sid, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. Coming at you guys, the Medalist Man from Oxnard, California. I'm enjoying 2 more weeks of summer while most people are back to work. So I'm like in the channel of summer still, living the dream.
I just enjoyed Vegas too, man. Right? So
I did, yeah. I won $100. I know it's not much. It's not a big brag, but $100 is $100 better than the last time I went to Vegas. So actually, it's more than 100 since I was in the negative last time. So I'm pretty happy about that.
There we go. And then we also got our back to make this stream actually look semi-professional, but still cameraless. So denying the eye candy we all know you all tune in for. Buzz, how are you doing?
I'm great. You know, when
What
I don't have
what country is your camera in again?
Norway. It's
Norway.
filming.
It happens.
It's filming a triathlon. So, yeah.
Active. And then joining us in this, the eve before he has to take the crown off and hand it off, maybe to someone else. He could just put it right back on his head. We don't know. We'll find out on Saturday. Is soon to no longer be reigning North American champion Chris Schoenthal. How you doing, Chris? How's it feel?
All right. I mean, it's hard to believe it's been a year already. More than a year, really. It was early August last time. It was like a week and a half ago, I think. But you know, getting used to the idea of probably being a former champ. Like I'm not saying I'm definitely not gonna win, but it takes a certain amount of luck to get through fields of those size, no matter what the situation. So I've definitely resigned to the fact that it's likely that I'm not coming back with another trophy, but I'll do my darndest.
All right. And then joining us by popular acclaim, probably the most demanded guest for us to have on this show in his first podcast not made by himself or video cast not made by himself appearance is international man of mystery, Sandy Barnabas. How you doing, Sandy? And my good friend.
Hey.
Good friend of the world.
I am a friend of the world. Also your friend. I'm doing well. I think you were a little too nice to my ego there. I think
That's true, though.
No, I'm happy to be here. I have no idea how to do a podcast, as you may have noticed if you watch my podcast.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the most requested person was Seth, but we've had Seth on twice?
3 times?
3 times?
At least
A bunch of
twice,
times.
yeah.
And
What?
so you're second place, the second place, now first place Seth. So I don't know how you can work out the nicknames there. But anyway.
Plus, Seth was already on a podcast this week. We can't stretch his schedule too thin. He's got a lot of testing to do.
It's
We're
true.
at peak Seth.
It's true. Okay, so we're just going to jump right into it because we have a lot going on. So the news, there's no news really because everyone was either the Europeans were all at Fracas and the Americans are all testing for GenCon. So, but only one of us, because Buzz, you didn't go to Fracas this year, right?
No.
Only one of us was there this year. So we are going to rely on you, Sandy. How was the experience?
Well, so to start off, I had a little misadventure in London, where I was there for a couple of days before Fracas, and I missed my flight to Poland. I blame the Cross Keys Sellswords, I think that's their name, the group of players in London for that. Dave Bamford, Vince, and Alex. Mostly, I think, Bamford. But, yeah, they kept me out till about 6 a.m., and then my flight was at...
Wait, do bars stay open that late in London?
The bars we were at did.
It's different. There's no last call.
Yeah. So my flight was at 10, and I definitely missed that. And then I was stuck at. I had an 8 p.m. flight that had to lay over in Zurich, so I didn't get there till the next morning. So I missed the Thursday night of Fracas, which was apparently when everyone had a crazy time. I saw pictures. If you get to see pictures of Tomas from that night, the Fracas champion, he was having quite a good time. If that. But yeah, so the Melee, I got there in time for the Melee on Friday, which was a lot of fun. Met a lot of people, saw a lot of people I knew. I think I compare the only American tournament that I've been to that has the same sort of energy or like community feel as Fracas is probably Thrones War.
Yeah.
I mean, even dance, even some of the, I think, more fun, popular fan-run tournaments in the States don't have that same feel as like where everyone is like getting together, having fun, and like Thrones happens in the background. Yeah, it's good. We all went out Thursday night. I think Jamiel made sure we all had food and drink, which is great. But some of us, again, stayed out too late. I think I was hungover for my first 3 or 4 games.
Those are the ones you won, though, right? So.
I know. I actually like ruined some people's day early. I think. I guess like Chris Sweeney. I think ended up. I beat him as my 3rd game, but like I think he ended up going 6-2, 7-1. I may not have been his only loss, but I was close to his only loss. Much better players than me. I think it was just my hungover brain knows how to play Thrones.
I found that in my situation. The only time I've ever gone undefeated in a mildly large Swiss tournament was when I was unbelievably hungover. Took 3 5-hour energies to get me to even partially functioning. So if I die 5 years older than or younger than I should, that will be why.
I think Jones owes at least 2 card designs to the state of being hungover. Like he thrives in that.
Oh yeah,
it's a common thing.
He plays really well.
I mean, it makes me wonder if the most common mistake Thrones players make is overthinking their turns. And like sometimes you just need to do the right thing, the obvious thing, and get it done. I was playing.
Uh-oh.
Sandy,
we
lost you.
No, he was making actually a coherent point.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there we go. We lost you the last thing you said.
We lost you, Sandy. Give us your great thought.
Your great thought. You were good.
I was saying sometimes all you need to do is Astapor Dracarys. Attack Astapor Dracarys.
That does feel no-brainer. That does.
Yeah. After the show, particularly the show is instructive.
When you're hungover, you're just like, get it over with. Just let me get through this game. I just need to go, drink some water, and get my head out of here. And then, so every game is like, let's go. You're just efficient. I think there's something to it. Try it.
Your other podcast is the Jank Tank, is that right?
Yeah.
So, this is, I think, perhaps, some people enjoy that, and I think that's great. I enjoy it too. But I think that,
I thought you were going to say something the opposite.
I know.
Okay.
That was...
I think if you're, you tend to, the reason people like Jank is that they find the straightforward game too boring or not challenging enough. That's fine. But, sometimes if you try to do that with a deck that is normal, you just end up beating yourself.
Right.
I've definitely been in situations where people outplay themselves, where people, for example, flip a Valar thinking they're going to double Valar or whatever, and they lose.
Been testing a lot for GenCon. Totally done that a lot.
Yeah,
that's why I jank in an amateur fashion, but I've never brought jank to Worlds because I'm not stupid. Have I? I don't think I have. I haven't done well, but it wasn't because
maybe not actual
silly
Worlds.
janky deck. Not to Worlds. The other things, yeah, but not to Worlds. That's the one tournament I'll bring a serious deck to.
To go back to Sandy's point, though, I think it's also when you're hungover, muscle memory takes over. If you really, we have all at this point, I think, played enough Thrones that we have it in our bones, and that sometimes if you just let your learned experience, the animal part of your brain that's been programmed to play, to marshal cards, turn them sideways, and win challenges, to take over versus the cute, I'm great at this game, so I'm going to try to find the play.
I'm going to bait my opponent by making them think I will play Varys. No, yeah. Just play good
definitely.
You heard it here first, folks. Play Thrones like an animal.
It's true.
Yeah. Hungover, not drunk. Drunk, you will lose. But hungover seems to be the right in-between area.
They also say, you should, if you need to go to the bathroom, don't, play the round needing to go to the bathroom because it apparently sharpens your attention. It's a natural biological
painful,
thing.
But I mean,
I'm just gonna start pushing,
start
internally pushing on my bladder during every game now. Just bearing down. Sounds good.
All right. So sorry, we got sidetracked. So Sandy,
we got sidetracked.
So I ended up sleeping for like a half an hour in between rounds. So I was pretty good after my third game, and that's when I started losing. Maybe because I wasn't whatever. I ended up 4-4, which isn't terrible. I was like 75th or something. I had a pretty high strength of schedule. I was top half. I was like, had I won my last game, I would have made the cut. I was really close, but I think the top 32 was the next day. And you'll notice that like a lot of the decks were, I think most of them were variations on a theme. I think there were a lot of Reigns.
Yes,
I think actually, aside from perhaps the Lanny Crossing deck, which was hilariously great. If you haven't seen that deck, I encourage you to look at it. It uses 2 heads on spikes and 3 Tyrion's chains, which is like... It's the only deck to beat Tommaso's Night's Watch deck.
Hey, Sandy, what were you playing? Give us that.
Oh, Targ Fealty. It had some dragons and some Astapors and Dracarys. Just like,
boring.
Yeah.
Show.
I play boring
the dragons
decks.
are bigger on the show now.
I don't play interesting decks.
That's fair.
Not at big tournaments.
Except for when you're playing like Barry.
Also, there was... When we say nothing interesting, there was a Lannister Reigns in the top 4 that was mostly clansmen.
That was the other one I was going to say.
Let's not completely discount the off the wall kind of stuff that happened.
True.
And I think both of those decks had something in common, which is that they can win kind of conventionally, but they have a little something extra that if you don't know what they're doing, they just completely screw you. And maybe that's the right way to approach these kind of experimental tactics is like, even if your stuff doesn't go off, just a regular Lanny Crossing deck or a Lanny whatever deck is going to have enough threats to really put pressure on you and make you play the game for real. And then if your stuff does go off, it's just, exponentially better. I'm a pretty bad player and I play boring decks, so don't take that too seriously. But I mean, play good cards mostly. It'll be fine. The other outlier there, I think, is Tomas, who plays Night's Watch Fealty and wins with it more consistently than anyone else I know, including Joe from Cincinnati, the other Night's Watch player.
The other Night's Watch player.
I mean, I'm sure there's more than 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, there have to be, but
I would say famous Night's Watch loyalists in the community, probably Joe and Tomas are the two big ones.
Right. But aside from like kind of those 2 weird or 3 weird decks, like I think a lot of what we see in the top 8 is what we're going to see in the top 8 at GenCon. The same packs are legal for Fracas and GenCon, which means that I anticipate a lot of people will bring those decks.
A lot of Reigns, you think?
Hey, and the guy who came in 3rd and the guy who came in 2nd are good arguments for not dropping if you lose your first game, because both the 2nd and 3rd place people lost their first games and then continued to do well. So that's, and the 6th place person. So in these big tournaments, if you a couple early losses, if you play well the rest of the day, don't necessarily knock you out. The Roy
That's one thing
project.
about it. Let's cut to 32, right? It gives you a little more wiggle room.
I was gonna clarify that as well. That it's if you continue to do well and the tournament is structured well, which is no guarantee.
Right, that's true. The 3 of us here are about to attend an FFG tournament, so we know it won't be structured well.
No. Top
But-
8.
Well, they are doing a
216
graduated cut this
players.
year on Sunday,
Okay.
well-known day that people want to be playing in tournaments.
No, I think
The cut.
it's graduated cut immediately following the Swiss,
thank
and
God.
then top 16 on Sunday.
What is the?
Oh,
Thank God. that actually is like I actually now want to work really hard to get into the graduated cut then, because I was so worried about like if I get into the graduated cut and my plane is at 450, can I make it? Is the math there? I don't know, but I don't.
What
Let me check, but I'm pretty sure that's the announcement said was six rounds or 7 rounds graduated cut, 2 more rounds, and then
we see the
top 16 on Sunday.
It's top 24 to 16 to 24, or like what is the actual?
It's whoever. What is it? The 32nd player, whatever their record is, and then it's every
all ties go on.
All right. So, reading from the description, the tournament will consist of multiple Swiss paired joust format head-to-head rounds, resulting in an immediate graduated cut of the top 32 and up to 16 additional that tie with the 32nd player. Any additional ties will be broken by SOS. The graduated cut will progress to a top 16 single elimination bracket. Players that make the elimination rounds will need to return Sunday at 9. So there you go.
Okay, that's pretty reasonable actually. Good job, FFG. So
yes, not bad.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what I'm targeting is the
top 48. Let's go.
Boom.
Roy, don't you live like I don't know 6 hours or something by a bus ride from Indianapolis? Like you can get home even if you miss your flight.
That's true, but I need to be like, I have a flight to Nova Scotia on Monday, and I need to be like the most charming, perfect boyfriend that I can be, and being extremely exhausted from having driven 10 hours to get to Newark, and then getting on a flight, and then transferring. And I also don't fly well. Chris has seen me right when I get off a flight. I'm a little like, and so yeah, that's not a good idea. Like obviously, I like this beautiful apartment. I like my relationship, so I will not be seeking.
Obviously, the right answer is to treat it like Thrones and do it hungover, right?
Do it hungover. That's what you do.
It's true. That's true.
All flights are easier.
So,
I mean, maybe Roy's more charming.
We moved a little on to GenCon.
His animal brain, his natural charm. He doesn't try to be too charming.
Let's wrap up Fracas.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's considering going to Fracas, you absolutely should. It is definitely worth the trip. I think that like the Polish meta in general, and Zemiel and Skaven in specific, along with like I mean. They're all great, sweeter. They all make an effort to make you feel welcome. They'll help you with all of the details of getting there and whatnot. But most importantly, it's like it's like a giant family get together. If your family likes to play Thrones and drink, which
my family does
not.
Well, one of those things. And it's not Thrones. My family.
The Thrones family likes to, though, right? So that's perfect.
If I can speak a little bit about my non-Thrones experience in Warsaw, like after the melee, we went out drinking till like 6 a.m. I came back to my room, which I was sharing with Andreas Ryback, of the giant muscles and Adonis looks. And I slept for like 2 hours before getting up to go play in the joust. He had very graciously provided me with water. I was like, I think I owe my performance definitely to that. But then, like, you know, after the joust, we all got together for dinner. Went out to like some of the river that they have there. Had another night of drinking. It was like, I mean, and it wasn't like, you know, binge drinking. I mean, some of us, me, did, but like most people like had a couple of drinks. Like you have so many countries represented. You have so many people that you see very few, like very not very often. And it felt great. It felt like you're part of the community. And I think that, like, while some of the Thrones tournaments in the U.S. do have that, for example, Dance with Dragons has that. I think there's a lot of the Northeastern tournaments that I've been to, a lot of the Midwestern tournaments have that. But I think that, like, I just have never seen such a large percentage of the group, like, come out and, like, socialize outside of Thrones, except at Thrones War. And that's all I'm saying.
The Fracas of the West.
I mean, really, it is. I think the way that Ryan organizes, and I can't say enough positive things about that. The way that Ryan organized it was like super good, and I think all of us, except Buzz, have been there. So, yeah, it's more for our, I guess, listeners. I think that, I do think that Tomas is. I'm reading Twitch chat here. I do think that Tomas is an exception. I'm not sure that anyone else could pilot a Night's Watch deck and go like 8-0 or 7-1 and then win. I do think that's just him.
He has the endurance to stay awake through all those wall triggers.
It's true.
Never.
I mean, but the big Tomas news, I can't believe we didn't announce this, is this matters to Sid and myself and Sandy, I believe. He's going to be at Worlds this year.
Yeah, that was really cool to see. I'm excited to hopefully meet him.
I mean, that's my bet now. Like, particularly with Jones not coming to Worlds this year, like, I could see Tomas taking it down.
We have to stop letting European players come to Worlds and winning it.
And
after last year,
there's like 14 of them, and they always are in the
finals. So.
But to be fair, I think my prediction is to see like Shonthal. I hope you don't let me down, but it's you, Ryan, and Tom Malucci in the top 4 at Stolic.
I like that. I'm down.
Those are 3 monsters. Like that's. Like that's. I mean, North America is sending the Thompsons.
We're sending good players for the first time. No,
like if we had brackets for Stolic, I would say it's Tom, Ryan, Chris, and Tomas top 4.
If that happens,
I mean that's not a horrible
bragging power.
Like I'm sorry to all you people from other countries that are good players, but like until you beat any of these people, I don't believe you.
I mean. But, Ryan has what? He and Corey are tied for most card designs, right?
3
each.
Yep.
And then Malucci is a Swiss, like, God. Like, I'm just, no one plays the Swiss rounds better than Tom, I think, in North America. So, and of course, Schoenthal is representing North America as our former champion. So, it's going to be good.
Not former yet.
So the other...
At that time, he'll be former.
I mean, he could twice. Roy.
Twice.
How do you know at that time?
I said I probably would.
It's difficult for someone to win back.
I like the optimism, Sid. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe in you, Chris. Got this.
P.S. Send me a deck when we're done here.
I got nothing, man. I got Jank Tank has ruined me.
I can send you my list, Chris.
Ultron deck, is that a thing?
Chat again.
It's not a thing. Not to Pilmir.
I will say Kevin Shannon is a secret weapon because I think no one in Europe plays Bara. So like they're just gonna get completely blindsided by his decks.
It's true, and no one plays Bara in North America like Kevin does. So
yeah, that's what.
It's so funny to me. So funny to me that he's been painted as a Bara loyalist because he's like 100% not. Like he's a complete Jamie, like I am.
He is, but just for whatever reason, his Bara performances have kind of got a spotlight shown on him lately, so it gives him that little extra.
He won our 40-person regional, and he won Thrones War with Bara. So it's convenient.
Didn't he do Bara the year before Thrones War 2 and do well?
No, he was on the Lannister team, but he won that year. That was my team.
Does anyone have Isle of Ravens up? Can we see who the top Bara player is? Is it not Kevin Shannon?
It might be. And I think I saw in the chat there was 4 Bara players in all of Fracas. That's like nearly 200 players almost. Poor Bara. How quickly they fell.
How do you do that search by faction there, Sandy?
I have no idea, but Tomas posted a screenshot of it, so I assume it exists.
I don't know. You guys are the Californians, didn't like? That's your thing.
Northern California created it.
Alejandro's in chat. He might be able to.
Yes. Alejandro, hook us up with some backroom stats on.
Who's the best Bara player in the world is?
That was on Jousting Pavilion, you said.
Oh, hey, by the way, I now have a positive win rate on Isle of Raven, so I'm now a supporter of it.
So now you're a supporter of it. Do it.
So there we go. Until, I do poorly at GenCon, then it's like, fuck this. No, don't want to ELO.
My ELO!
But I 3-0'd a game night kit, and, Hey,
there you go. Ooh, look at you, Roy.
yeah. So any other Buzz? Do you have anything you want to throw in about Fracas before we move on to sort of the state of the meta, GenCon, and all that good stuff?
Not really. I was there last year, and I just have to agree that the Sandy said about the camaraderie and the spirit. There's so much love. I mean, I almost teary-eyed when I watched all the pictures from there. I remembering all the good times. It's such a great event.
Do you regret not going this year?
Not really. My best friend got married. Otherwise, I would have been there. So.
Well, that is a good reason to not go. Yeah. So. All right. Well, Sid isn't here, but Sid's not going to GenCon, so we can start this whole segment without him. But Fracas leads us into the biggest. Well, I mean, the interesting thing about GenCon in compared to Worlds, would you say GenCon in many ways is kind of a bigger tournament to many Americans than Worlds is? Or not?
It gets the numbers, so I give it that. But Worlds does get the European influx, which I know it's not a ton of players, but it's a couple dozen Europeans every year.
Always,
and I think that gives it a little bit of an edge. I know it's not lately; it hasn't had the numbers of GenCon, but I think Worlds, because of that, makes it maybe just a little bit more. It's not more competitive. I don't think that, but I think it gives it a little more prestige, maybe just because people from around the world are there, but only slightly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, you're supposed to say GenCon's the most important tournament, and all of those wins for Ryan.
I want to obviously I want to say it's the most important tournament, but honestly, if I was going to pick one or the other to say, oh, I can win that tournament one more time and never win a tournament again, it would be Worlds, not GenCon,
right?
Regardless of numbers. My GenCon win at the time was the biggest 2.0 tournament, which felt really good, and it was ended up being bigger than Worlds. But still, Joe Miranda got his deck printed. I didn't, so
God damn it!
Can I say I wish Worlds moved because Minnesota sucks. I like having a convention center. I have an event center dedicated to FFG games. Great, whatever. But I wish it would move year to year. I wish we had Worlds in different cities, so that we'd have a different kind of it'd be easier for different local players to show up.
No doubt, I would absolutely love that too. And I mean, they're trying to do that with nationals. It looks like maybe move that around a little bit to give other people exposure, but. I don't really see them moving out of Minnesota anytime soon for Worlds.
Can I?
I think it's too easy for FFG to do Worlds at the event center, and they're not going to give.
They make a lot of money there too.
Yeah,
a lot of money. They don't have to fly any of their employees anywhere. I mean, money in the bank.
Whatever. Let's not talk about FFG's monetization abilities because they obviously suck at it.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question? Has anyone actually played against anyone from Asia? Or have we had any cross-pollination?
Not in 2.0, right? A few Chinese champions and players came over for Worlds
last year
1.0, 1.0, right?
We've had some in Stalik.
Yeah, didn't Shui come to Stalik last year?
Yeah, and some Singaporean. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, and someone from Thailand, and some Chinese guy. Yeah, a few.
Yeah, I mean, I think North America. There's always a few Europeans, obviously, because GenCon is just such a huge gaming convention. You're going to see, last year, right? There's also a strong Latin American sort of always a dozen or so Latin Americans that are there for GenCon. Which I don't think Worlds had very many Latin Americans, at least the year I was there, right? So, I don't know. The diversity thing kind of cuts both ways. Because are there any, in Latin America and in Asia, are there any tournaments that fly you to Worlds now? like the way in which the European Championship does, and I think the national championships do.
The nationals do. Yeah.
Certainly not Asia, I don't think. I mean, not in previous years, at least.
No,
but
they
be
just
nice if
started
they
their
did.
own style,
And I think part of that is the
thing.
whole independent distributor thing that they, each place has their own distribution. Like in Latin America, I'm not even honestly sure how they get cards in Latin America. I know we have some players that live in Mexico that have to rely on us to order league kits and stuff for them. Like they can't get cards basically. So I don't even know how they would get cards in Latin America, but I'm glad they do.
So the winner of Driver Not the Car was Luis, who was from Brazil. So I'm assuming, I think they do I think they have a distributor there, and I know we have players from Argentina and Chile that came to GenCon for a few years.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I think they have a distributor in South America, just not in Central or Mexico.
That might be.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess in order to be a true man of the world, I have to go to at least one tournament in South America and at least one tournament in Asia. I am planning a trip to Singapore, so we'll see.
You should go to what's the tournament that they have? The sort of Southeast Asian Championship? Is it in Singapore?
Marine? Is it Battle of Marine?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's that's the one weekend something else is happening that I am going to in October, right?
Sandy?
I don't know, Sandy. I'm not sure.
We rely on you, Sandy, to be the Globetrotter of Thrones. The American Globetrotter of Thrones.
I didn't hear, by the way. What were you talking about?
Where's the big
Asia?
Asian kind of apex tournament? Yeah, the Stolic of Asia. Where is that?
I think they flew in people to... Was it in Thailand? In Bangkok? I think they had the final tournaments, and then there are a few
Right.
all over.
Is it?
Yeah, they have that
Sagavestapur?
tournament series that's like the Astapor tournament, and there's one in the Philippines, and there's one.
In
I think there's
Australia.
one in Japan, maybe.
And
in
There was one in
Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
We need Keno to jump on and tell
Yeah,
us. but I don't
Keno's
think
normally in chat. Maybe
I know. We can usually count on him being our one every time.
the lifeline
viewer,
to the
but
Southeast Asian meta to all of us
No.
Americans is
Keno.
Keno. So and
Probably
Europeans.
dealing with some Duterte bullshit, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Okay,
where's
but
Master?
we sort of got sidetracked again. So GenCon starts tomorrow, and the joust is the melee's on Friday, which I will be playing in, and then the big event is Saturday for the joust, which thanks to Chris fulfilling his champion role and making it clear that the graduated cut is also on Saturday, and then with a cut to top, I think 16, top 8 or top 16, depending on how many people show up on Sunday. So yeah, I mean GenCon. I love GenCon. It's both years that I've been now have been transformative experiences in my life. And as I was thinking about today, I've actually in really bad places of my life go before GenCon, and it was sort of like a tonic that got me through two couple really brutal summers back to back. And so I really love GenCon, and I love what the community comes together. I mean, last year was a great time. I mean, Chris, we did amazing karaoke when you won. That was probably just I had to stop Aaron from beating up Sean Emberley, or as Sean claims, Sean Emberley beating up Aaron.
Wait.
So
I missed GenCon last year. It was the first time I've missed it in 15 years or something. What happened?
yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry,
just
Sandy.
the
I
usual
can't
Aaron
tell the
being
story
Aaron.
because you weren't there, but Sean and Aaron were having words, and Aaron twisted Sean's nipple, and then that was just a whole thing that we had to deal with.
I mean, I'm unsurprised.
That sounds
really.
about right. Yeah, sounds par for the course, right?
So,
Sounds like Aaron.
but there are positive stories too, like that Chris won.
I like that one best.
You like that? I could see that. I think actually though, GenCon is in a pretty interesting place this year. I think the meta. I mean, Fracas kind of.
I mean,
shows us
Indianapolis
that-
is medium interesting. I don't know if it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's more interesting than it was last year. No,
Come on, that was a good joke, and you're just running over it.
I know. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm not a championship level Joker.
Like Will Lance.
Like Will Lance.
Oh, no. It's rubbed off. It's rubbed off.
Too much time hanging with Will. But yeah, I think the meta's in a good place. Last year going into Gen Con, I was not super excited about the game. I was excited about the community, but less the game. But this year, I'm actually really, really excited to see how the joust turns out and sort of what decks float to the top. I mean, Fracas gives us a pretty clear picture of that it's almost certainly going to be something that says Reigns of Castamere, that Alvaro's agenda. But other than that, I think it's in some interesting places.
Can I say something about championship agendas as an aside?
Sure.
So we've had House of Dreams in 1.0. We had Knights of the Hollow Hill in 1.0. We have Reigns of Castamere in 2.0. Like
Dark Wings, Dark Words.
Oh yeah. Also, like, is there something about world champions that makes them design agendas that are absolutely way too good?
Yes.
Like,
yeah, all the playtesters defend them because that when they win, they want to be able to make a card that's just as good.
Yeah, every designer wants their card to be ubiquitous. Like, that is the goal. That is the ultimate goal. Like, make everyone want to play my card, because then you know you've created the great card, right?
Can I call out Sam Bratz? Like,
yeah, he didn't do that.
Direwolf plot.
That's not Sam Bratz. That's Kid.
That's them.
Oh, sorry, that was Kid. Oh,
that was
God.
Kid. Sam, we're still waiting on Sam's card, right?
At least Kid made a plot that has his own game text on it, as opposed to Simone that just borrowed game text from a CCG card and printed it again.
Simone's card. Simone.
Yeah, fans. Yeah.
Simone's card should have been great and like trolly and negative, and it was just like bleh.
Well, he's a Melee champion. What do you want from him?
I don't know. Something better. I hope he redesigns it for 2.0.
Who? I'm assuming this is a Corey thing? Or
Simone, and why his card
Talking about how
sucks.
Simone's card was just an exact reprint of
Simone. I hope it has prize 3. I do hope that just for Simone's card, we get prize back. That would be the most troll thing. Because
little rules insert just in
another
that
Gen
one
Con
pack.
story. So Steve Simone knocked me out of the cut in one of the most humiliating tournament games of Thrones I've ever played. That he beat me in like a plot after calling my deck a baby deck. But what it did lead to at that Gen Con was Simone, when he was very drunk, I was like, so, your card? And he was like, I fucking hate that card. Like, they shouldn't have prize 3. And he just ranted about prize 3 on it. And he's like, the playtesters hate me. They put this on there. Like, when Nate told me what the card was going to be, it didn't have prize 3. But when I opened the pack, it had fucking He was just like ranting about it. And
I mean, the fact that he didn't know anything about the process of his card between when Nate showed him the initial idea and when it got printed says something.
Yeah, but that was pretty amusing. He complained about the same thing at Thrones War when we were all walking to get food.
Burritos. Yes, I remember. Yes.
So,
can I? What do you guys think the effect of L5R being released at Gen Con is going to have on Thrones participation at Gen Con?
They don't conflict.
Oh, it's going to be a lot louder.
It's going to be louder, but they don't conflict, right? They have the tournaments are Thursday, Friday, right? There's nothing going on.
Cut. I mean, like, I think there are people that are not. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some. Yeah, I guess there's a cut for the Friday tournament that's on Saturday, right? But I mean, that's going to be a small group of people. So I think that you're going to get. I think for this tournament, this year, you may get more people who sort of showed up for L5R and Thrones as their second game and be like, well, I don't have anything to play on Saturday, so I might do that.
So you're anticipating more of a. So I do know that at least one
this year. I don't know what happened next year.
I mean, definitely one other person from Fracas is coming to Gen Con from France, a French player, to explicitly play L5R. And I think that maybe if he can, he will play Thrones. I don't know. But I feel like it's actually got a kind of a reflective, positive effect on Thrones. In that now,
can you define how you explicitly play it? Because that sounds frightening. I don't want to see any French.
Which French guy is it, by the way?
Cudson.
Ah, yeah.
So
I can't pronounce.
I already got messages from a friend of mine from college who's like, "Are you playing L5R in Gen Con?" So
So GenCon L5R
To your
is
great
Thursday,
shame.
Friday, and Thrones is Saturday, Sunday.
Correct.
Yes.
Will we see that same schedules carry over to Worlds? Do you think?
Oh, I hope so much. If I can make Worlds be like a 1 day off trip, that'd be so
Right?
good.
Yes.
Like take
that would
Friday
be-
off to travel, and then just get there, play Saturday, Sunday, fly out. Because Monday, I mean, most people have Monday off, but not everybody.
Although,
Oh,
you're
because it's
clapping, Roy,
Veterans Day,
but
right?
Glazer hated it when we brought the schedule for Gen Con up to him.
Really?
Yeah,
I want to say
Glazer was
something.
mad about the schedule for Gen Con.
Dude,
Why was
Saturday,
it-
Sunday is the choice.
I don't know why he
I
was
don't like
mad. I thought
Sunday.
it was
I don't like Sunday, to be honest with you. Like, I'd rather just
Really?
do the whole thing. Well, because I mean, it's just like I gotta. I mean, maybe it's just a thing. I gotta fly out at like a reasonable hour. So
Maybe Friday, Saturday is slightly better, but when you've got so many games, would you rather be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, Sunday?
well, as was pointed out,
Friday,
the
Saturday means
aired
you have to.
tomorrow White
travel.
Book episode. I'm really boring, and I only play Thrones. Well, I play L5R this year, but I only play Thrones, so that's all I do. Is I play Thrones and talk to my Thrones friends.
I'm actually like I don't mind spending time in Indianapolis, but I want to minimize my time in Minnesota.
Yeah, right.
So like I'm with Chris on this.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday would be amazing. I would take Friday, Saturday. That would be okay too. Just don't put us in like Wednesday, Thursday
It was Wednesday,
land.
Thursday last year, right?
Yeah. Not the joust. Joust was Thursday, Friday, I think.
Thursday, Friday.
I think that might be right.
But
So you still had to.
fly
That
out,
meant
like,
for
Friday
us, we
night
had
or
to
something
travel. We had to travel Wednesday to get there because
Yeah.
you can't. Like, we lose so much time that we can't fly in that morning or anything. Like,
yeah, it was not fun. I really hope we get Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. Otherwise, I will feel like second-class citizen at Worlds.
can we just mention how absurd it is that it's August 15th and we're still hoping for a schedule?
We don't know. Late July.
Well,
Late
I
July
promise.
was the promise.
Although I won't probably be on the Second Sons post GenCon episode, I promise I will do my best to wheedle out of any FFG employee I see world stuff and pass it along to people. So
Let's get Nate drunk and figure it out.
Yeah. Let everybody. Let's do the
just
work,
be like,
guys.
just like
you
bring
three,
beers and just
do
start
the,
handing them.
Do the good work.
Particularly if they're your judge. If you get called over a judge call, just be like,
Judge,
judge,
Hey,
here.
when it's Worlds.
hey, L5R. Can they be in the annex? And can we get Friday,
won't be in the
Saturday?
FFG owns the property. They won't be in the annex, but at least we don't have to share space.
Right.
with
Armada will be in the annex.
Armada.
Rune
Armada's
Wars.
in May, so Rune Horse, right?
And maybe Thrones.
So we are doing GenCon karaoke. That's a tradition, right?
At Casablanca.
The
We haven't
place
figured out which night that is.
Wait, why is this night singular? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, we do it's usually a big night, and then there's like a couple of smaller nights. So it'll probably be Saturday then, I guess.
I think
So
don't they only have karaoke one night? Like, don't
they
they
have
only
karaoke Friday, Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Friday, Saturday. So it's usually soft karaoke Friday, and then after the joust, the big. Tommy
So-
bribes the person. So
Anyone who's listening on Twitch chat or whatever, I need a deck for Melee. I'd love to play Melee at GenCon, but I don't believe in building Melee decks.
I'll hook you up.
I'm glad I'll gladly try and play whatever people give me.
Yeah, I built most of the decks for Team Sweden for last year, and some of them weren't tried. You can have.
there we go.
Oh,
That's
last year, and they're still good. That tells you something about Melee.
No,
Really?
it tells you
I will
something
say- I
about
will
my
say,
mana
though,
building.
I had somebody who I thought was a very good friend of mine earlier today message me on Facebook and asked my advice on a Melee deck. I was like, "Do you know me?"
Are you not
Was
playing
it
in the Melee this year,
promoted?
Chris?
What do
You
you
played
mean by
L5R,
this
right?
year? Have I ever played in
I
the
thought you
Melee?
played last year.
Certainly not. I gave Seth my deck from the
Oh,
day
that's
before.
right. That's right. You were did they have the draft going on? In Melee?
I did draft. Draft was Sunday, and I drafted, yes. Because I was in the middle of a beer tour, and someone texted me, "Hey, I got an extra ticket," and I literally Ubered back from the middle of Indianapolis after having 2.5 beers to draft.
because Wama dropped from the melee to draft. Because that's right, halfway through the melee, they were like, we have draft packs, and Wama he could have made the cut if he hadn't. So poor Wama. That's the story of Wama.
I don't
Make
feel
a
sorry
mistake.
for that guy.
They keep him from cuts at big events. Let's see. What else? Oh, GenCon in general. So, all right. What deck do we think will win GenCon? Besides the three of us that are going, besides the deck we're playing, obviously. So we won't have people doing that. But what deck that isn't the one that you're playing?
Now we're going to screw people into the ground because we can say a deck and they'll be like, is he saying that's not the deck he's playing?
I mean, I think Reigns.
So
Reigns.
But that's not. There's a bunch of range decks now, so you have to. It to be
That's
more
nice
specific.
and easy.
So we can
I'm
rule
not
out.
going to be there, so I got to go easy.
There's no Tomas, so no Night's Watch fealty.
Nope. No one
Let's
played
see.
Night's Watch.
Yeah, the Night's Watch will be builders in the DC deck. It won't be fealty.
Yeah, let's see. There's no.
I mean, honestly, are the DC guys just going to run that deck back? Nothing's changed since it came out.
The Stark fealty?
No,
Stark
the
Watch.
Stark Watch.
Stark Watch. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think
those
Astro
Greyjoy
has-
Reigns decks
War has
can do
come
some
out,
damage
and
to it.
Grey Worm has come out.
That's
I think
true.
that makes a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
That deck.
The Greyjoy Reigns decks look like they can handle it like pretty well from the lists that I've seen.
I like your optimism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd
Okay,
love to see Night's Watch crushed into the ground.
I think the finals are going to be Targ versus some version of Night's Watch. I don't know what's going to win though.
I think that Lanny Reigns will win.
I think you're dumb.
That's fine.
Ooh, fair counterpoint.
I think.
No,
I think.
honestly.
I think
Lenny
Barra,
Reigns-
guys. Barra
Listen,
takes
you
it
know.
all.
No, the thing with Lenny Reigns, if I can pontificate for a minute,
Please do.
I've played a lot of Lenny Reigns. I'm really only good at playing shitty decks. I think Lenny Reigns has a lot of strengths against people that are bad, and it is easily beaten by people that know what they're doing. I
I don't
think
know
there's
the easily beaten part, but yes,
Well,
it can be beaten by people who know what they're doing.
I think it's really telling that Lenny Reigns makes the cut in every tournament and never wins a tournament unless it's piloted by Joe Mirando at, a tournament without.
Did he win with Reigns?
Well,
He won the
let's be
dance.
clear though.
series, yeah.
He was playing the best kill spell in the game, so
It's true. He was.
so good.
He was
Oh
playing
my God.
3 copies of it too. 4 if he could.
You guys hate, but that shuts down so many decks. I think with Jon Snow and Grey Worm now, it doesn't shut down some decks as much, but it basically beats Tyrell. If you run 3 tiers of lists, you beat Tyrell.
look, I never said he was wrong, but it's just
And
fun
Greyjoy,
to
often Greyjoy as well.
laugh at his hyperbole.
I mean,
Well, because
Yeah,
let's also
you're-
remember there are no spells in Game of Thrones, the card game. So you're,
aren't there Blood Magic Ritual, son?
is it traded
Oh.
spell?
I don't know,
So,
actually.
so does that mean that when he switches over to L5R, then he's going to be able to talk about the best kill spell in that game?
Oh, is he?
That
Is
game
he?
definitely has
Please?
spells.
Is he leaving us?
It does have spells. It has
For the
events
world
that are
of
spells.
Rokugan. I hope so.
I hope so too, but I think not. Sid. I don't think we're
So-
that lucky.
Anyway, I'd be
Damn,
shocked.
okay,
I would
that
be
might be the
shocked.
title of the episode, Sid. Because that's a good one.
Go
I'd be
ahead, Sandy.
If the cut at whatever the final top 8, 16, at whatever at GenCon did not include let's say 15% Lenny Reigns, but I'd be equally shocked if it actually ended up winning. I think if you can make the cut with a deck that isn't Lenny Reigns, you can beat Lenny Reigns.
I think at Fracas, over 50% of the cut was Lanny Reigns, or close to it. I mean, it was
No,
a massive
no.
number.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not Lanny Reigns, but Reigns. But
Yeah,
Reigns
definitely
decks.
Reigns, not Lanny Reigns.
Yeah, not
The top
you're right.
4
There were
most of
six
them were
Reigns.
Lanny.
Greyjoy Reigns, 6 Lanny Reigns, a Targ Reigns, and I think
Tyrell?
2 or 3 Tyrell.
Yeah.
But okay,
And the
but to
Night's
be real
Watch
quick,
fealty.
clear, the top 4 at Fracas was 2 Lanny Reigns decks, and there was a mirror match in the top 4. So they had, so it wasn't, it wasn't like
Sure.
the Targ versus the Lannister, and Tomas had to go through 2 Lanny decks to get there. So I'm just saying, I'm just saying, like, Lanny Reigns remains good. Like, the Iron Triangle that sort of crystallized to me when I was playing in the regional season, which is Tyrell, Lannister, Targaryen, is still, I think, at play. Where you can find decks that.
Where is the Night's Watch in the
where's
triangle? Because I feel like that's a essential part of the triangle.
I don't think so. I think that Night's Watch just isn't as good unless you're Tomas.
But stop sandbagging your builder's deck, Roy. We all know.
Okay, can we do a little exercise here? I want to memorialize this. I want everyone to go around and tell me what they think the finals, the 2 house cards, not necessarily like banners or whatever the agenda is, but like top 2 house cards in the finals. Roy, what do you think they're going to be?
Thinking Lannister and Targ.
Okay.
Yeah, would have said the same. Then it's Targ. If it was Europe, I probably would say Night's Watch Targ or Greyjoy Targ.
Okay.
But your guys are gonna play Lanny Reigns and lots of it.
Yeah, all the
That's
I
true.
say Targ, but I actually think Greyjoy will make a little surprise performance at GenCon. That's my outside guess.
Surprise performance.
Greyjoy
Greyjoy has been tearing up the second half of the regional season.
Greyjoy is good right now. Like they really are.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Sid. I'm just saying it's not a surprise. I hear Euron's a good card. Sorry, Chris.
Chris, your prediction.
Lanny Tyrell.
Okay.
Ooh, Tyrell. I like it.
So I think it'll actually be Night's Watch Targ.
Yeah.
I think there's at least. I think basically it'll be Joe from Cincinnati playing some bullshit that beats a lot of people.
In the finals? No, Joe's
In the
not.
finals.
Joe's a great guy. He's not making it to the finals.
Come
Not when he's been testing for L5R the whole time.
He's not
Ooh,
Tomas.
good point.
I mean, I was just talking to Joe the other day. He's been testing for L5R, not for Thrones.
Has he? Then yeah, I
Focus is
definitely agree with Sid.
split.
Although
know
how
that,
much
but it
how much
didn't matter.
testing do you
Even
really
if
need
he
to
was
do to say no challenges and then turn your location sideways? Like
A lot of testing. All right. Like, I know you hate on the builder's deck, but to be decent at that, it required a lot of reps. I
think
crap, I picked it up the other day. I'd never seen it in my life, and it was just so autoplay. It was absurd.
Sure.
Maybe.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not a North American champion, so it required me. I don't have that default level of skill, so it required some work for me to get decent.
Can we take a second and like just pour one out for Alvaro and the fact that he designed this agenda and then quit the game? Everyone's playing it, and he's just like, "Fuck Thrones, I'm not playing it anymore."
I
Like,
miss it. It's terrible.
Alvaro, come back, man! Your agenda's tearing up the meta. Come back.
We're here.
He needs Lannister to get Neil again. The one when the sort of faction bleed has.
No, that's not why he's salty.
This is how we get a Barrow World Championship deck, is when Alvaro starts playing and he's like, oh, I'll just play Neil. What's the faction that has Neil? Oh, it's Barrow? All right, I'll play Barrow Reigns. Somehow I'll make that work.
But he's so conflicted. He loves the Lannisters, just like the people.
Yeah.
And then, but he loves Neil. He doesn't know what to do. That's why
maybe Barrow Lion
stuck between
or
Barrow Lion. There you go.
Lanny Stag. Fever dreams, man. Fever dreams.
Then he can play Tyrion. He
Fever
can play Jaime. He can get his rocks off and maybe win also. Maybe.
Well, with
I'm not
Lanny
gonna-
Stag, you can play the whole family with Lanny Stag plus Melisandre.
Yeah, but you can't play all the Neil, right? Almost all the Neil, but not all the
What?
Neil.
You can't play, Consolidation of Power, and you can't play,
Good.
what?
And Lightbringer, who would be really good on Tywin.
You've got Fever Dreams.
That's true. You also have Tywin.
Tywin's a good card.
He's a really good card, I hear. I hear he
I hear he's
wins
almost
tournaments.
good
I
as
hear
well.
if you put him in a deck, and then you put Miri Mazda in a deck, that's a championship level deck. Like, those two cards. They're good cards.
Boom.
Is that a Will Lentz deck, you're saying? Is a championship level? It's not an actual championship deck.
No, it's a championship deck. But it's championship level, right? Because we said the Worlds, that's up here.
I think it's safe to say though that the Gen Con meta, because it's the same as the Fracas meta, will be somewhat similar, and I think most of our predictions kind of follow that. But when this next pack comes out, I think the entire meta just blows up, and we see a lot of interesting new things. So I'm really excited for that. Not to take away from what Gen Con's going to be, I really wish the timing of the pack release had made it legal for Gen Con. I think it would have made Gen Con really, really exciting because this pack is crazy.
But absolutely agree.
Okay, Worlds can be crazy, right? Well, it's fine.
Worlds, we're going to be banking people left and right.
Well, I mean, FFG continues to like print these interesting cards and then not make them legal at their major tournaments in North America, right? So we don't have Flea Bottom and Ryan's card for Gen Con. We don't have Valor Doharis for Worlds.
It'd be so good if we did.
It's disappointing that FFG can't think, okay, when are these major tournaments? The same. I mean,
but you said interesting cards, but then you're complaining about Valor Doharis. I'm confused.
I'm not complaining about Valor Doharis, Chris. You know my opinion of Valor Doharis.
Chris is anti-Valor D, so
I'm not complaining about.
He's in the minority, though. I think he's in the minority.
Almost like we did an episode about this. And
wait, Roy, if I can respectfully disagree, I think you're wrong.
Sure.
I think
I'm often wrong.
FFG
not as much as you, Sandy, but I am often wrong.
I think FFG likes the meta to be seasoned. If they had made the next pack legal for Gen Con, literally no one, except playtesters, would have actually been able to get a significant number of games in. And I think that's bad. I think that's bad. I think it just makes it makes.
But there's no plan. There's no rhyme or reason to this. It just happened. They didn't plan it like that. Come on.
Right. Yeah. If they had come out and explicitly said what you said, then I would totally respect that. I might not completely agree with it.
It just happened.
But I would respect it at least.
For every time the big cards didn't come out and blow up the meta, we have examples through 1.0, through CCG, and even through 2.0 where the big cards did blow up the metas. This is just random. I know you like the randomness, Sandy.
No, I mean, it's not necessarily that it's random. It's just they suck at operations and they don't know how to ship cards in time or any sort of scheduling. But whatever. You gotta think about it in terms of does this have a reasonable narrative where I cannot get super pissed off at FFG? I think in this case it does. I can pretend that somebody is not just bad at their job, and it's actually because of some.
Whoa, guys, hold that pack back.
Yeah, exactly.
First off, Sandy, I mean, I agree with you in this sense. What I think happened was whoever's in charge of release packs was like, oh, Gen Con's in August. What pack are we releasing in August? Pack 5. Okay, we're not releasing Pack 5 on our normal schedule. We're just going to release it at Gen Con. And that's what they did. They didn't think oh, it's going to impact the meta. Danny didn't tell them, oh, Pack 5 has these amazing cards. It was just oh, that's what's coming out in August, so that's what's going to get released at Gen Con. If it had been Pack 6...
something shiny for every one of their games to sell at their booth. And I respect that. I get that.
I respect it too, but it annoys me.
Yeah.
I mean, because second counterpoint, the one thing that this show has taught too is you should know the playtesters are terrible at their jobs, they're terrible at the game, and they're terrible people. That's the number one thing you got to take away from this show. We talked about that in the first episode we came back. Yes. I think it came up again second episode we did.
Yep. And if Glazer were here, he'd be showing Flea Bottom on the screen for the third episode. So
it's true. So we'll just wait until the episode where the post Gen Con episode where Aaron can be like, I predicted the meta because I wasn't here. So
okay, can I say something? First of all, if you guys take Aaron that seriously,
I don't. I do not.
But
no better.
Post Gen Con, he's going to be out partying for his birthday. I'm drinking with him 4 out of 5 days.
Decline dying.
I'm probably going to have to die at the end of August. But I do think that I think that organized play, the broader problem is that organized play for FFG, specifically as it pertains to Thrones, maybe not so much for L5R because it's their wholly owned property and they care about it, is that it's an afterthought. Yes, they will run big tournaments, but it's not their priority. Their priority is casual players. So yes, releasing a pack at Gen Con is great for casual players because they're oh, I'm at this gaming convention, I see the latest pack, great, I'll pick it up. Maybe I'll get back into the game, or maybe I'll catch up on stuff that I haven't seen, or whatever. I don't know. But organized play, if organized play was their priority, they would shift the entirety of their business model to making organized play more effective. And the fact that they haven't done that means they don't care about organized play, which is fine, as evidenced by probably the top 5 tournaments, at least, that I personally have been to, have not been FFG official tournaments. They have been fan-run tournaments. Like, yeah, I don't know. It sucks that organized play is the only way you can get a card design.
Fan run.
I mean, it makes perfect sense, though. I mean,
maybe we should let whoever wins fan run tournaments design like an alt art or something. Maybe put their face on whatever card. So like dance, next year's dance, right? Whoever wins dance, let's make an alt art. I don't know. What's a good card? Dracarys, or like with Jamie running into the dragon with the fire. Except,
I mean, like choose the art and print it. That would be good.
Well, no,
like design their own card that can only be played at like fan.
No, an actual card design, which is legal at community tournaments.
No,
that is fucking terrible idea.
But I like Sandy's alt art, and I may steal it. But I will say, I will do a soft announcement of a soft announcement that if you come to dance next year, more prizes will be available to you than in the past, because we have
that is super soft, man. That's so freaking soft.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Come on, Roy.
For Thronestoberfest so that I can plan my travel.
Oh, sure. Do you want me to give you the date for Thronestoberfest? Let me look at the calendar. So the date for Thronestoberfest is that's September the 28th.
Okay.
Boom.
So I can still make it to the Siege of Winterfell in Glasgow.
Wait, you're having Thronestoberfest October 28th?
Yes.
That'll be like 2 days before Worlds, you realize?
Yes. But it's a draft tournament.
Oh, okay.
So because it's so close, it ends up being so close to Worlds, and people just end up bringing. I don't know. I brought a warmed over version of Sam Bratz's GenCon deck last year. That people don't bring their best decks. So I was like, hey, you know what we should do? Make it a draft tournament, because people in the Northeast love draft. So
are we going to see some new draft cards soon? Speaking of draft,
I'd expect Worlds next year, or GenCon
not this
next
year.
Not this year.
No. Not Worlds this year.
I mean, I'm hoping for Worlds, like an actual draft Worlds.
That would be great, but we could keep, because
I
Worlds
want
is
these
Vertiger's
FFG,
card
please.
tournament this year. Like, it is everything we want it to be, and none of the things we want it to be simultaneously in a quantum, because we can't open
Don't
the
say
box
that.
yet.
I'm holding out hope that the reason we haven't seen any schedule is because they're creating the perfect schedule.
That's right.
Well, what they'll do is they'll make the draft tournament on Wednesday, and then everything else like Friday.
Buzz, are you?
Draft World Championship
Wednesday.
Wednesday at 8 a.m.
Can I hold on? Quick question, Buzz. You're from Sweden, right?
Yes.
You're familiar with Stockholm syndrome, which is what everyone is
God, Buzz
just
is here.
regarding the world schedule.
Yeah, I'm familiar, but what's...
That's some next level shade, Sandy. Okay, so any sort of final thoughts about sort of Gen Con? Do we are people? I don't know. The three of us. I'm still very excited.
I want to give a code word for people at Gen Con that are watching this podcast, so that they can come up to me, say the code word, and I'll buy them a drink.
Oh, there we go.
God,
this is the best.
major.
I was about to
This
offer
is
all the arts to
fantastic.
listeners, so.
Yeah, except I have some Fracas cards, but I don't want to those are. I don't want to just give those out.
Precious
Those are
cargo.
separate
No,
to me.
drinks are better.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think the code word should be? Should it be Night's Watch mirror match in the finals? Just tell me about the Night's Watch mirror match.
It should be. You should ask Sandy the question: are you leaving us for the world of Rokugan? Is that how you pronounce it?
Rokugan.
Rokugan.
Rokugan. There you go. Ask Sandy that question. Are
I
you
like that.
leaving? Like, if
Are you leaving for the
any pronunciation
world of Rokugan?
the L5R world?
Yeah.
If you go up and ask Sandy that question, he has to buy you a drink.
I will buy you a drink of your choice, as long as it's not fucking 20-year-old scotch or like some cognac.
No, a reasonably priced drink in the form of
Can
liquor
it be-
or beer.
Can it be a drink in a drink?
Ooh,
Are
a flaming
you-
Moe's.
A Jaeger bomb, Irish car bomb. We can do that.
I love
Okay.
me some car bombs.
The other thing is, if you come up to me and say you're a Second Sons listener, I will have an alternate art card for you.
Can I get one? Which one?
It's the Bear House card
Oh yeah, those are.
that I printed. So if you come up to me and be like, Roy, I think the Second Sons is great, I have some alternate art cards, particularly because I have a fragile ego. If you say I'm your favorite co-host, I will also accept in ascending order Chris, Sid, Buzz, Sandy, any other guest, and then Aaron. So
If
as
they
long as you say that Aaron is your
Sid
least
is
favorite.
my favorite, you should just slap them in the face alternatively.
You'd be
So
like, you don't listen to the show. If you think it's your favorite.
I guess it was
Can I-
decent. to be
Can I just
precise.
say, if you come up to me and you also say that I'm your favorite guest on this, I'll buy you an extra shot too.
There you go.
Yeah. So we got
Chaser, you
competing.
So we have some questions from the. Actually, Sandy had an excellent suggestion. We've been talking a lot about this pack, so we'll ask Twitch chat. There we go.
Oh,
Whether or not we should do a card review, a spontaneous card review that none of us have thought about at all. So if you want that to happen, I have a couple of prepared questions from other listeners. We will do that. But so let's throw it into the chat, and I will. So the first question is for Chris. It's from Chris Thompson. What sort of belligerent, house loyal battle chants can we come up with to start screaming across convention halls at each other to combat the oncoming, utterly insufferable L5R yelling that we're about to be perpetually married to at all future big throne events?
I mean, is the answer really fighting fire with fire here? Like, I don't think we want to do that.
let's
I
not
think we
stoop to
want
their
to just
level.
like
No,
bring
we don't.
earplugs, learn sign language, put the L5R players in the annex, like Sandy
Annex,
said.
right? Annex
That was
them.
Roy, I think, not me.
It was me.
That wasn't me. I didn't make any annex jokes.
Oh, it's good.
Annex. Put them in the annex. Let them scream to their heart's content. We don't want them
There we go.
in the main
Well,
hall.
yeah.
Come on.
I will actually spring for some silly string if we can. Every time they yell, we just spray silly string on them. Like,
Okay.
can we hand that out to people? Is that illegal?
You're silly. You're
Yeah.
silly.
Like,
That's
come
what you
on.
have to say while you're spraying them.
I'm
Well,
down.
You're silly.
Playing national championships of.
Sandy, come to Worlds and I'll double fist that silly string. Psh.
I'm coming to Worlds.
All
Yes.
I will hit every
There we go.
offender.
All right. So
Pies to the face, whatever it takes.
this is a question for Sid. When will 1.0 players stop talking about 1.0?
Never. It was glorious. It was amazing. It's what we all dream of. Honestly,
No, come on.
Here's when I stopped talking about 1.0. Okay, I'll give a real answer. When we have every deluxe and rotation, whatever that ends up actually being, because I'm not convinced the current plan is feasible. But when we have every deluxe and rotation is set in, and the card pool is what I think it will be, like I do have faith in the card pool, then I'll just be like, okay, like we've done it, guys. We made it. We're better than 1.0. But until we get there, nah, screw it. 1.0 is better.
So what Sid was trying to say was, when the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, when the seas go dry and the mountains blow in the wind like leaves.
No, our game will last. Our game
All right.
will last. I have
Sid,
faith.
you vamping so that Chris could Google that prophecy was some excellent inner host synergy.
It's called
that I really
teamwork,
appreciate.
folks.
It's why Second Sons remains the best Thrones video cast.
I mean, you don't have to like. I don't think you have to like pussyfoot around it. Just say when 2.0 is a better game, we will
Right.
talk about 2.0.
We'll
like-
know the tipping point. Like
Like,
we'll
you guys-
all feel it, and we'll be like, oh, this is the moment,
You
guys.
can-
It
Well,
happened.
It's not
Like,
without hope. I will say that. Like,
Yeah,
it's
course.
I think
every
like it's
the
getting
game gets
there.
steadily better
Little-
every few months. I mean, we
But-
still, and look, we all know that we still have Chris Schoenthal's card design, and that will be the moment. That's the tipping point. When Chris
good
spoils his card on this show, season 3 or season 4, or knowing FFG's testing cycle, season 12, when the card is finally out, we will be. That's the tipping point. That's when Christ will come down and we will all be like, "Oh my god, the game is better." So
like honestly though, like do you guys remember what the game was like after one deluxe pack in 1.0? It was fucking garbage. Everybody played Noble Rush decks. Like it was total garbage. I remember I made it to top 4 in the team event. I made it to top 4 in Melee. There's no game that I should make it to top 4 in Melee ever. Like the game is bad if that happens. I think that like the complexity of the game has to evolve. The reason we talk about 1.0 is because we know what the ceiling is. We know how fun this game can be when the choices are that like intricate. And if you're a hater, if you're a 2.0 hater, I encourage you to be less terrible at this game. When you win a world championship and you've only played 2.0, aka if your name is Joe Mirando, you can give us shit. Fine, that's fine. But other than that, like, yeah.
So I wasn't around. I joined Thrones in 2011, so it was like halfway through the Maester cycle, which might be why I have such an affinity for Maesters. But Ryan Jones was around not long before I was, and he brings up a good point in chat that 2.0 is already better than 1.0 was at this point. So we're ahead of schedule. So, we can, we're on track. We're good to make it.
Yeah. I mean, I have faith. All right. So I will throw this first to Sandy. We have our first serious question, which is how would you rank? This is from Buzz Hannon, the other Buzz.
Yeah.
With a Buzz with only one Z. How would you rank the houses in terms of number of substantially different competitive builds they can do? Deepest houses, as it were.
It's a cool question.
That's
which I said on Facebook.
Actually, like a very interesting metric. First of all, in that it. Like banners, I think in 2.0, banners make a huge difference. Banners versus fealty versus reigns make a huge difference in the playability of a house. For example, I think Night's Watch has a playable fealty, a playable probably reigns, a playable banner, at least Stark, probably other banners too. I don't know.
Summer for builders, right?
Summer.
Okay, but how are we defining this though? Because Night's Watch builders versus Stark Watch, like mostly Night's Watch cards, like that's not a different deck. Like that's not a unique archetype. That's still the wall.
I think. First of all, I disagree. I mean, I'm a shitty player, but I think Night's Watch builders plays significantly differently from Stark Watch.
Having played, but their end game is the same. They still have the same win.
Can the most end games are the same? You get to 15 power and you win. Like you're saying that
you know what I mean.
Power gain is through the wall.
They're passive decks.
Can I then
the Stark Watch is way less passive than the builders.
Yeah,
True.
Stark Watch is.
What were you saying, Sandy?
I think like so by that reasoning though, like you only have like 4 archetypes. You have Renown, you have Challenges, you have Chamber, and you have Wall. And I don't think it's fair.
But Challenges is a pretty wide open archetype, right?
Okay.
Like a lot of houses kind of thrive.
I do think we should. I mean, Buzz's question was specifically looking at houses. And I think the fact that you can build the Stark Watch out of Stark is something specifically different than builders or fealty or Night's Watch Wolf. Like Night's Watch Wolf is different than all of those because it's not really a wall deck. At least most of the successful versions.
Night's Watch Wolf isn't a wall deck at all. That's a very.
I mean, some of them have walls in them. Like I've watched enough stream games. Like a few maybe have like 1x wall or something. But yeah, they're not wall decks.
I think
but yeah. Go ahead,
I think that to answer Buzz's question, I think that the answer would be Night's Watch probably has the most variant builds that are still reasonably successful, unless you count decks that win with a majority of the power gain from the wall as one build. In which case, I would say probably. I don't know. I think honestly, I'd have to give it to like Greyjoy for the next. You don't think so?
Not Lannister.
Lannister. Like it's there's still Reigns, Dragon, Kraken, Wolf are all decks that you can take to a tournament and expect to, if you're decent enough, make the cut. Like there's metas where different versions of Lannister are better than others, but like there's viable tier 1 and tier 1.5 builds through like just whole of like Lanny Stag. Like
first of all, I think that all of those are Lanny good stuff plus random 12 cards, and that's fine. I mean, that's great, but I think that, like, unlike Night's Watch, I don't think that those actually significantly influence play. I think you just play a bunch of good characters and win the game. If you win with, for example, Lanny Stag, not saying it's a bad deck, but if you win with Lanny Stag, it's because you played Tyrion, you played Tywin, you played maybe Jaime, and you also have like 12 cards that might help you with kneeling somebody or something. Who cares?
On the other hand, saying it like that means that only Night's Watch isn't competitor because they are the only passive ones. So everyone else are discounted from this this question, right?
Buzz is right here. I mean, I think the other Buzz's question is more when you look at what people's main faction card is. How many tier 1 and tier 1.5 decks can we think of for each faction?
Card?
So Lanny, Night's Watch, boom, 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 boom. Like not like Stark Watch counts as a Stark deck. I think for how Buzz is.
Okay, so in that case, everybody gets Watch.
Not everybody.
Pretty fucking close. Like.
I'm trying to think.
Tyrell was great at Thrones
Martell Watch.
Martell Watch is great with Boneway.
There's an aggro Martell Watch, by the way.
Yeah,
there's probably I mean, there's good aggro cards. Yeah.
Lanny and Watch, I think, are at the top.
Wait, why don't we just use the annals for this, right? Can't the annals tell us this?
Well,
Can't we use actual data?
This is an opinion question. You just want to use boring data?
This is a good moment. Let me just drop on you guys. Isle of Ravens has expanded to add a whole new level of like data dive where you can look at factions and agenda and their performance across all tournaments on Jousting Pavilion, and it's pretty interesting. It does give you
all right, Sid,
some
according
insight
to
into
the raw
question.
data. Then, what's the faction with the biggest depth?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but Lanny and Night's Watch are at the top. I mean, it's just like we thought. It's just like we expected. Lanny and Watch are dominant builds, and they're great houses to factions to start you off on. They have a ton of builds. I mean, they do.
Barra. Let's just be okay. Let's go shallowest. I think the shallowest is Barra. There's probably Fealty, Watch,
Sun.
But the question is like, this is a real question because no one's playing Barra. We don't know if Barra's Sun is still competitive today. Like, I mean, it might be.
I think Martell Barra is better than Barra Martell, but
I mean, I would say so too. I would say it's like
Mars
Fealty,
Bars,
Watch,
Mars,
maybe Lion. I would say that Sun right now. I mean, I think the Barra cards are holding it back. I think flipping it, as Sid said, to Martell Stag is
better.
Way interesting, way better.
Isn't Targ more one-dimensional than Barra, though?
And then Targ.
Yeah, I mean, Targ Fealty, I think, is the best Targ.
Because Targ at least can also play. Targ can play Fealty, Crossing, and Summer without putting any cards in their deck from anybody else.
And Rose is pretty good.
Yeah, Targ Rose was great.
Targ Rose,
Targ Lion's still a deck, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's. I think that's a tier 2 deck, though. Having just owned it twice with a Martell deck that is 2 chapter packs old, I think that Targ Lion is not quite there.
Interesting.
I would put Night's Watch and Lanny on the top.
Well, I gotta go check
on the bottom.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. With sort of Tyrell, I think, edging up on Lannister, and you don't think so, Sandy?
I think Greyjoy beats anything other than than Lannister and Watch.
There's
Greyjoy at 3
or 4. Well, I mean, I'm trying to think. All right, so the tier 1 Greyjoy builds are obviously Greyjoy Reigns, which is everywhere and dominating the meta. Fealty, because Fealty will always be good with Greyjoy. And then what? Dragon,
Winter,
and Crossing, right? The Pure Rush.
Greyjoy,
is the Pure Rush?
Are we seeing Greyjoy Winter do well?
Do you want me to play it at GenCon and beat all of you?
Do it.
Yes, Sandy. Yes.
I won't be there.
Greyjoy
so
winner, please.
Wasn't there a Greyjoy Watch deck that top-aided Fracas?
Great joke.
No,
I
it
thought
was
it was
the other way.
Night's Watch Kraken.
It was Watch
Nice
Kraken.
Watch Kraken.
It kicked the shit out of me. I played it, and it was my first loss, and I was like, holy crap, I cannot win this game. We play it 10 times, I lose it 10 times. That was a great deck. Yeah. That was Night's Watch Kraken, though, which just goes to show you that Night's Watches should be at the top of the list.
It was a wall deck though, so
It's a weird wall deck. I played some games with
Yeah.
it. It's a deck I think you definitely have to be in its mindset to really kind of.
He didn't.
It
He didn't,
wants
actually,
to aggro with the wall, which is
he
definitely
didn't get the
something.
wall out against me. He just beat me with Jon Snow and Victarion. I was like, I can't kill those.
That'll work.
Just lose.
That'll do. That'll do. Those two characters can win games. No problem.
Spoiler
Your
alert.
Vic is a good card, particularly when you pair him with someone with stealth.
Yeah. And that stands himself when he wins. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Fucking job.
Whoever is linking those decks in chat, by the way, you are doing God's work.
Yes.
That's,
Krevik.
that's Alex from
Their
SoCal.
boy.
All right,
Embrace.
Alex, that is doing God's work. Thank you for being sort of our research assistant there. If you're is Alex going to be at GenCon?
He's not.
No.
He's
Well,
going
I'll
to be
give you,
at
I'll give you a
Stolic,
special
though.
alt
Going to
card
Stolic, though,
for
he's making the trip.
for doing this. For doing this, Chris, that you can.
I
Get
really hope, by
Right.
the way, that you Americans do not let me down. I have talked you up so much at Stolic, like to every European player. I was like, you guys don't know what you're getting into. Like, you guys are just going to get rocked at Stolic. It's going to be top 8. It's going to be more than 50% American. Like, please don't let me
Oh,
down.
jeez.
Are you're
I
not
mean,
going
I
to
love
Stolic,
that,
Sandy?
Sandy is the world's worst herald. Like,
I'm going to be there. Like, I'm just saying.
You're going to be
they
there
judge-
too?
they
Yes.
judge Americans by me. I'm really shitty at this game.
Oh, we need a hype man. Sandy's the hype man. No, I believe him because it's not just like Americans. It is the cream of the crop of SoCal coming to Stolic. That's what it really is. It's not like
I mean, you don't-
America. Chris is
Six card signs,
Chris
7
and his
card
wife are coming. Just
We're
good,
going
Chris.
deep in the tank.
They'll be good. But honestly, I believe in SoCal. SoCal going deep to Stolic. I think we crush it. I think SoCal crushes Stolic, and I'm so excited for it. Yes. Let's go, boys.
all right. So this is a question from Louise. Continuing into this, his question is: I'm starting to think faction loyalists have a better chance of making the cut than faction mercenaries like me. What's the deal there? Sort of Chris kind of brought that up a little bit, that he and Kevin Shannon are kind of ultimate Jamies. But if you look at the results of someone like Tomas, who's probably in 2017 the best player in the world, like I don't think that that's really in dispute, right?
And
Just-
Alvaro in Lannister. Wait, that wasn't 2.0. Never
Yeah,
That was
mind.
a while ago.
But what's it like?
I know.
But other, but if you look at like in the North American context, Joe Miranda at big events, he just plays Lannister. Like he just always plays it.
He's not a faction loyalist. He just thinks Lannister is the best. Like, if he thought Night's Watch was the best, he would play that.
I don't think
Yep.
Joe would. But anyway, that's sort of the point Louise is trying to make. Sort of is looking at Tomas as the sort of the gold standard here. People who maybe this might just be a European or non-North American sort of context, but he's saying that faction loyalists have better chance of making the cut. Do we agree? Do we disagree?
I think it depends a lot on what faction they're loyal to.
yeah.
Like being loyal to a good faction is great. Like if I had to like lock in and play Lanny for every tournament forever, sure, I'm in. If I was a Stark loyalist, I'd be less happy right now.
But there's some Stark loyalists in Italy that consistently go to these European championships and are in the top 32,
Sure.
top 16.
Can I?
But
Yeah,
they'll
no,
win.
they
But
they'll
they
win,
make a
but
bad house. They make a
Results
bad
in card
house
games
playable.
are like
But there's a
consistent
difference
results are
between
as
like
important
bad to
as
playable
champions.
and good to great. Like
So, I think there's a couple of like orthogonal factors here. Who's asking?
Jeez.
Louise.
Can we back off with the big words, Sandy? My God, orthogonal.
Sorry, I'm a little drunk. My vocabulary goes.
Louise, I don't want to butcher Louise's last name, but he's
My
the former
vocabulary
Solid
raises
Italy
the more I
champion.
drink. Oh,
Is he from Brazil? Is it Luis from Brazil? I just saw like last week.
or is it Luis Loretas?
Yeah, Luis. That's
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I think that, like, honestly, I think that it's the individual skill with a deck, knowing a deck really well, knowing a faction really well, knowing its strengths and weaknesses, is probably larger of a determination of whether you can win or not than the deck the deck's matchups versus whomever. So in other words, my hypothesis is, and this is I think borne out by Tomas winning like literally every tournament he's in, is that if you are playing a faction that is reasonably good, to Chris's point, I think you're kind of screwed if you're playing Stark, but like if you're playing a faction that's reasonably good and you know it
every
so
faction
well,
but Stark. But
no, like I don't know of any Martell loyalists that have won, but maybe there are. I don't know, but like the like.
Johnny Wright just needs to get off his couch and come to a tournament.
Stalik.
Yeah, he's going to Stalik.
If you play a game, like if you play 200 games with one faction, like you're gonna know how to beat everything. You're gonna know the like ins and outs of what you need to do to beat X deck. And I think that level of competency with a single faction is probably going to win you more games than the like, oh, this is a 50-50, 60-40 matchup for me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I think
I
you turn
agree.
all of
Right. It trumps flavor of the week, right? Whatever the like hot deck is. If you're Tomas, you've played every matchup dozens of times. You just know, right? You sit across from Bera, you know how to make that win for you. You go across from Stark, you go against Lanny, you go against Targ. You're like, okay, I know how to win this game. I just need to play it this way. Like he's got the reps to put himself on that level. I think you're right.
Just keep in mind though that we do have players who show up with the best deck, regardless of the faction, like DC for example, and they perform because just like the loyalists, they put in the reps, like you said.
Yep,
They do.
absolutely.
So while I think that House Loyalists might have an advantage performing over time, I think that anyone who puts in the reps with their deck that they have chosen, I think more so that not that the people who put in reps place higher, but that those who don't do it place lower, if you understand what I mean.
Yes.
right.
So what do you think? Will Tomas see the same success that he's had in Europe at Worlds?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just put him in the cut for starters, and then you can start playing.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Put him in the top 8, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Can we actually make that happen so I don't have to play against him in Swiss?
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Just move on.
I mean, he can lose a game. I mean,
He did. He
But
lost one, right? I think
Yeah.
one
He lost
at Fracas.
He lost one to the deck that was playing 2x heads on spikes and 3 Tyrion's chains.
yeah.
Which
Oh,
should
so
tell
he
you
just
something about the
got him
types
with those.
Which is, yeah, like, I will say one thing. I think that the one of the side effects or whatever of like having reps count so much is, and maybe people don't realize this, is that like Thrones, while it has this random element of what you draw, what you see, whatever, it has this extremely skill-based element of plot selection. And knowing when to do, for example, a building orders versus a march to the wall versus a counting coppers versus whatever, like those are the choices that win and lose you games. Like bad players, and I will say this being a bad players will blame their losses on, oh, I just didn't draw economy. And good players will be like, well, it's turn 1. I only have one limited card in my hand. I'm going to play counting coppers or whatever because I know my deck loses if I don't see 2 more economy cards.
Right.
And like this is like the level of decision making that you know when you've played the deck enough to know, okay, by turn 4, I better have 2 Slaver's Way ports or I lose against this matchup. Means I better draw as many cards as I can, which means I need to do insight challenges with Danny, which means I need to show counting toppers, whatever. Like there are all sorts of decisions that a good player or a player who knows the deck will be aware are decisions versus like, oh, I just need to play a high economy plot, or I just need to like, I don't know what plot I'm going to pick. I'm going to play some random card. That faction mercenaries or people who net deck do not understand those subtleties. And like that's why you see, I mean, I think a canonical example for me, there are 2 people that I do this better than anyone else I know. In 1.0 is Greg Atkinson, who can take like a, I don't know, 70 card deck or some bullshit and like win with it.
His decks are unreal.
Yeah, like I don't know how anyone plays them, but whatever. Or Whamma with his like bullshit decks that just win, and anyone else takes them and they go like 4-4 or whatever. Roy, you took a Whamma deck. How'd you do with it?
2 top 8s. Well, 1 top 4 and 1 top 8. So I did pretty well with Summer. But I also put a lot of reps. I was testing for Whamma for European, and then I got really into the deck and begged Whamma to let me take it to a regional because I had so many reps in with it. I couldn't all I could think about was the deck. Like I slept. Like Ala was out of town for like 2 weeks, so like I would go to work, I would play Builders, I would go to sleep, wake up, go to work, play Builders, and I was like, it was just in my headspace. So my experience.
There. So you'd go to work, you'd go to sleep, and then you go to sleep again.
I understand. I apologize. My point is, I was living and breathing Builders when I wasn't dealing with the youths of Philadelphia. So I'm the argument here, though. Like the most successes I've had at tournaments. When I top 16 at GenCon, I had played the LIV2 deck. Like that deck was nowhere near a great deck in that meta, but I had probably 300 games under my belt at that point with the deck. When I was I didn't do as well as I wanted to at Thrones War, but the reason I did at least acceptably was because I put so many reps in with that Stark Fealty deck. Like, I knew it's like I beat matchups. Actually, the matchups that I lost, I could have won if I had played a little bit better and variance hadn't been quite in my favor. But I won a couple of matchups that I should have lost, like a Lanny Reigns matchup, because I had played it so much. And same with the Builders deck. Like I just played it, and knew its outs. So someone like Tomas, who can just play this Nice Watch Fealty deck and then change a few cards out as packs come out, and so just keep refining it. Like he definitely does have a matchup, an advantage over the hop arounders, who the Aaron Glazers of the world, who are like, ooh, this is a cool tier 1 new build I have, and they may not have the reps to back that up. Just pulling Aaron, just kicking him around because he will never listen to this and he's not here is something I can do. So
I'm not really a loyalist. I love Lannister, but I'm not really a loyalist. And the only reason that I performed well last year was that I played the Lanny deck so much, like hundreds, maybe thousands of games.
Thousands?
I mean, closing in on it, right?
Yeah. I think it's true. I mean, reps, especially when you can play against so many different matchups, is hugely beneficial. Like, your deck can do well, great, you win 9 out of 10 games, but that's nothing. Like, that doesn't really mean anything. You really need to play against every faction, all the agendas. I mean, reps equals good, and I think people who win these big tournaments play reps.
The real problem is that you're never, because of the size of the community and because of the way that Thrones naturally takes longer, you're never going to get enough reps in to know definitively how a matchup goes. Yeah. This isn't Magic where you can look at Magic Online stats and go, okay, well, blue-white control is beating mono-red 75% of the time or something. You can't do that. So you have to go on intuition. It goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, where you have to see patterns in matchups that aren't exactly analogous. You have to see things that other lesser players just don't necessarily pick up on due to the number of games and the variety, because it's all that you've got. We just don't have enough data to say, like, well, I'm going to play this because I know that it beats this deck. You hope that it does, and your experience says that it does, and you have a game plan for it, presumably. But there's never any real for sure.
Another thing, if you put, okay, I'm gonna use you, Sandy. Sandy plays 100 games, and Seth plays 100 games. Sandy doesn't care. He goes and drinks after the games, and Seth sits down and analyzes each win and loss. I think that analyzing thing is so underrated as well. If Roy plays 10 games and analyze each game, even though that's a very small sample size, he will gain so much more than someone who just chunks out games and doesn't care to analyze why he won.
True.
Yeah. I mean, once I started taking notes on Iron Throne games, my results improved significantly. And then, So that's just an argument to preparation. I mean, we do need to. I'll throw something. A sort of thing is Dark Naus's classic argument against deck marriage, though, right? That there is a danger in getting a million reps in with a deck and believing that it is the best deck ever, and then it not being. Like, there is sort of a ceiling to this, right? Where you can get a million reps in, but if Stark Fealty is just not where the meta is, maybe you'll make that top 32. Maybe you'll make that top 16, but you'll be sitting at 16th place. Maybe.
And again,
that's only if you play perfectly. And most of us don't, play perfectly. Like you need to be able to coast a little bit on your meta read. And so there is a danger in being a loyalist like that. I mean, the obvious one right now is Stark's in a weak place, but some of the middle tier factions, like being a Tyrell loyalist, doesn't always get you where you want it to be, even if you have the reps, because the meta can be against the specific faction or specific play style that you have practiced so much.
And again, it's about sample size. When we're preparing for GenCon, we're going to play maybe 8 or 9 games. Like, maybe I have the best deck, but I hit the bad matchups, 3 games, I'm already dead. Like, there's no perfect deck out there, so you shouldn't try and find it.
That's why the DC strategy of playing as a team, where you try to find the best deck and then have most of your players
and then somebody makes it through because they hit the matchups correctly. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Calihundrogo in the chat brings up a point. He says,
"Isn't that Alejandro?"
That is.
Yeah,
we call him Calihundrogo.
Okay.
On the West Coast. He says, building as a team has really sharpened my game, and I would attribute my recent tournament results mostly to getting to build with a lot of great builders. So do you think someone who can kind of bounce ideas off of metamates and even kind of international people, is that better than the person who's just kind of in the workshop solo, trying to come up with something, playing on Iron Throne, playing on Octagon, playing in local tournaments, and then bringing it to something like GenCon or Worlds? Does the person who has a lot of input and is trying to build more cooperatively, do they have an advantage over the solo builder?
Yes, every time.
Infinitely so, every time.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
there's the Greg Atkinsons of the world, right, that can do it.
And let's be clear that when Sid's saying this to people out there that, and I think this might have come up, I don't remember exactly what I was listening to. It might have been Will's podcast this week, but it might have been a Magic podcast. But to people out there that are listening to this that don't necessarily have, the tight-knit, amazing group that we have in SoCal, it doesn't have to be the people in your local meta that you're reaching out to. You can live in, Kansas or whatever and still talk to people. Like, I'm always happy to talk decks with people. I know everybody on this cast, if you get a PM, you'll probably talk to somebody about their deck. You just talk to whoever seems friendly. It doesn't have to be people, quote unquote, on your team.
Right. I mean, last year's GenCon, the New York City build group consisted of players in England, New York City, Canada,
Boston.
And Boston. And then there's one other person. Oh, and Mikey still technically played some games. Oh, in DC, because Dennis was still with us then.
And the other part of Canada too, right? Like, Emberly was with you guys, but also, or did Sean not test with you guys?
No, Sean tested with us, but Sean lives in the same town as John and Matt.
Oh, really? I thought they were like 2 hours apart or something.
No, Alex Hines is the one who's sort of.
Oh,
and Alex tested with us
Canadian
too,
geography. So
yeah, so I mean, and that's a pretty diverse group. And it was mostly organized online. But to use a different example, you just building with other people, even if they aren't names. Like, look at the success at nationals that the Seattle people had. They built as a group. They bounced ideas off each other. They had more success than other people or the Brotherhood guys. None of them were known names before they started testing and playing together. Just the ability to share data and to share and to have additional eyes on your decks.
That's who it was that I was thinking of just now when I was talking to other players. It was Alex Black on White Book last week.
Oh, yeah, I haven't actually listened to that White Book episode yet. I'm saving it for the play flight.
Spoiler alert, sorry.
That's okay, I don't care. But that's my point. Is sort of even if you're like, oh my god, I don't have anyone, just playing with your friends, but playing in a explicitly self-conscious way with your friends will improve your game significantly and will make everybody better builders. So you don't just have to be like, oh, I need to be friends with the luminaries of Thrones. Just the ability of just getting 2 or 3 friends with you that want to get 100 games in before GenCon. And you want to take notes and you want to say, okay, why did our Lanny Kraken lose to builders?
And spreading out, spreading out is key. Like I live in SoCal, but I'm at the northernmost point of SoCal. So I cannot get to San Diego but once or twice a year to play with those guys who are, weekly playing together, right? So my little playtest group is myself, Northern California guys, East Coast guys, and European guys. And we're mostly just like people who get together who can't on a weekly basis just crush out games, right? So we've kind of found each other. So anyone who's in that position where they don't really have that weekly kind of just knockout games with high skilled players, find a group, grab people from here and there and ask them to come and join. I mean, I know people who are in multiple groups of these little playtest kind of subgroups, and I'm in one little subgroup, and that's fine. Just because someone plays with someone else doesn't mean they can't play with you. So find a little cohort. I don't think there's a better name for it. Find a little cohort of players who can play each other, and hopefully you've thrown, unless you have a really tight group of competitive players, you want to grab people from all over, or else you're just playing within your own little regional meta. You really want to grab people from other places because they will immensely help you. Like, I am probably better right now than I was when I was living in Northern California with about a dozen regular players, only because I have to kind of by necessity spread out because there's no one who plays in my county, right? There's no one in my entire county who plays Thrones but me. So I have to go outward. And if other people are in a similar situation, I'm better now because I've kind of looked for other communities to jump into by necessity.
And it's really interesting how the tournament season necessitates you cultivating these widely varied relationships. Like for Worlds and Stolic, obviously, I'm going to test with the guys down here. I'm going to test with SoCal, and we're going to go crush Stolic, and it's going to be great. But during regional season, they're my opponents. So that's when I reach out to Roy. That's when I reach out to the Thompsons and Luke and get ideas because we're not playing against each other at that point. We want to collaborate outside of our group. So when we play in the regionals, we'll be kind of doing the opposite of what we do for a big tournament like Worlds.
I mean, the same is true in New York, right? New York, our big national tournament is GenCon. So we prepare, we keep secret, we keep proprietary a lot of our knowledge. But like when Worlds comes around, like I will be reaching out to Sid and Ryan and Tom and Chris and to just book decks for myself, but also to give them knowledge and experience, right? Because those are the people that when I go to Worlds, I want to be on the same team with them. I want to be sharing information with them. It's just these things flux. So just because one group of people are preparing for nationals this way, and then people prepare for GenCon another way, you have to sort of figure out the season, and that's I think really critical. The other point is I want to really hammer this home though. Like the only reason I have ever done well at Thrones is because I joined a team. Like the decks that I was bringing to weekly meetups before like Dan and Struhall and Dave Strom took me under their wing are just laughable. And so any success that I have is credited to them and Aaron and other people that have helped me a lot. And
Roy,
not Sandy, because Sandy and I have only played I think twice ever.
Also, it was a big ego, like what ego, not boost, the opposite of a boost. When you started winning tournaments, and I was like, holy shit, Roy won tournaments? What the fuck has happened to this game? No, like I will say that Roy has grown as a player immensely, and he's absolutely right. When he first started playing with us, he was absolute garbage.
Yeah. I mean, totally true.
You still beat me more than 50% of the time, but let's let that slide.
But you were usually drunk and I was sober, so that was about leveling our playing skill at that time.
I with a Stark deck, which I was like, "What the fuck? Stark decks can win games."
Was this in 1.0 or 2.0?
This was 2.0. It was
Oh, yeah.
a little cat. But anyway, no, I think that
Yeah,
I think
right.
that having somebody to cross pollinate ideas out of even just give a different perspective on your deck building ideas. And sorry to kind of like cut you off there, but like you're a much better player. And as an external observer, like I don't mean that in any sort of offensive way. You're a much better player now because you've had these like opportunities to train with people and like not in an antagonistic way, but like just you play with people in a relatively friendly game and you realize what you did wrong. And I think, Buzz, you said this earlier, the ability to reflect on your losses and say, like, oh, this is what I should do better. Okay, well, next game, you're not going to make that mistake.
Yeah. So, and no one likes it when you bring up Magic and other card games, but there's a reason why most of the Magic world champions and people that are in the money in Magic build in some kind of team.
Yep, absolutely.
Same with Hearthstone or any other like money card game. There are I'm not even talking about in Hearthstone against like teams like Temple Storm and all that shit, but like there are build groups that cut across the sort of branding situation that, and if you see those players, they tend to be the ones that you see at these tournaments and that are winning and are in top cuts. And then of course in Thrones, the most infamous example is DC. DC and SoCal are the most consistent groups. But apparently SoCal was a little bit later to sort of the team ideas. That's the impression I get.
Well, I don't know.
This is
Then
only because
DC was.
SoCal took a little time to like travel to Worlds every year. We still don't get to GenCon and Moss, right? So DC kind of historically had a little bit of territorial kind of dominance because most of FFG's big stuff happened on the East Coast. So that helped them kind of establish their dominance early. But honestly, you put DC and SoCal in the same tournament, I don't think one performs better than the other. If anything, SoCal maybe.
Well, I'm not talking about player skill. Like I think they wax and wane depending on who's there and who's practicing more. I'm talking about as a team approach, like where Corey come up with 1 to 2 decks, and they say, these are the decks that we're playing.
Right, and we still don't do that. Like,
yeah, the closest was when Johnny's deck.
Yeah, but that was just a literally broken deck.
Yeah.
We were just
It was such a good deck.
Fucking.
Although a bunch of you played Lanny Stag, right, last year?
Yeah, we did, and I mean but even within the landing stag list, we varied 2 plots, we varied 5, 10 draw deck cards. Like there were definitely personal choices. It wasn't
Barra
here's the list you're
year.
playing it.
Yeah, like I played Barra last year at Worlds and made top 16. So we were, I would say, the most fractured last year at Worlds than we've been in a while.
Did Johnny play the Stag or did he play Martell?
He played Stag. He has not played Martell at a 2.0 like Worlds yet. I don't think.
Maybe this year. Boom, boom, boom.
I mean, we're not getting Valor D yet, so it's probably
not. Yeah, that's true.
I don't think Johnny's going to Worlds. I think he's just going to Stalik.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Stalik then, if Valor D's
right. I mean, Stalik is our Worlds trip for most of us.
Yeah. So, any more thoughts about this? Let me see what else we got question-wise. Oh, I closed.
I think we covered all the real ones.
Yeah, the chat's pretty active. It's hard to even pick out the questions now.
All right, so chat, throw a few questions our way before we sort of wrap this up. Let's see.
We're pushing 2 hours. Do we want more questions?
We can take. We got 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah. And
see the best time of all time.
One Barnabas in chat would like to know: is Sandy the best guest of all time?
He's up there. I mean, Seth, the episode after Chris won.
Top 5. Who's this guy think he is? First appearance? Come on.
The GenCon episode with Chris and Seth, I think, remains probably the best episode that we've done. We had both making fun of Seth for coming in second, celebrating Chris's win, but also
we had 1 and 2 together on a podcast.
That episode was great.
But we also had substantive discussions besides just trolling Seth about being second place Seth at that point.
We're gonna have you're gonna look back at this podcast and you're gonna be like, how did we have 1 and 2 of GenCon here on this podcast before? How did we know that this was gonna happen? You don't know. I'm gonna play some bullshit deck from Fracas, and I'm gonna take you all down. You don't know.
Yes, Sandy. We'll see. The proof will be in the pudding, my man.
Proof will be in the pudding, indeed.
We'll see.
I'll
Is
be
there?
so
Do you guys
hungover.
have a lot of pudding out there? Because I like pudding.
I don't know.
Snack pack. You guys do
Okay.
a nice snack pack out there.
So, I'm trying to think.
Oh,
Ed,
Sandy. Question for Sandy.
Who is this person? Who is this person?
That's Alex from SoCal.
That's Esposito.
okay.
He says, "Who's the most overrated player?"
So
Oh,
this is
most
something
overrated.
on my podcast. I edited myself saying like Seth asked me the same question, and I edited out my answer because I didn't want to piss people off.
No, dude, you're in a unique position. You play everywhere. Let's hear it.
I
You
do play
don't want to
everywhere.
hear this. I
Yeah, I
know what
wanna
Sandy's
hear it.
answer is going to be, and it's gonna definitely his
You
biggest
saw it.
fan base will abandon him.
I want to hear it. Let's go.
No, I think that I'll give you my honest answer. My honest answer is I think that outside of Tomas and Alvaro, who no longer plays, and possibly Alex Trigonakis, I think all of Europe is the most overrated player in the game.
Yes.
Oh, Buzz, do you have a
but-
response?
Wait a minute, but they
I
crushed
mean-
you. You went like 4-4 against Europe.
Alex is my baby. I love him.
Trick? I mean,
He's-
Trick is.
Trashed compared to most of us in Europe.
Wow. I mean, we're gonna get a pretty good idea of how this plays out
Right.
because
You-
the best of
8-0,
the best
man.
of SoCal is
But I-
coming to Stolic.
Yeah.
We're gonna know. Like, we're gonna have proof.
What we
gonna
should
have
really
to-
do is come up with a Kickstarter to like have a Thrones like International Waters World Championship where you have like 16 Americans, 16 Europeans on some cruise ship in the middle of the ocean. Be like, which is better? Death match.
If there's anyone from
I'm pretty sure that Ryan announced that Thrones War not next year, but the year after is going to be at sea. So it should be
Yeah, we have thought about Thrones War on a cruise ship, which would be amazing.
But to
So-
be fair, Sandy,
yes.
if can Europe be anything other than overrated because they are rated like number one?
Yes. Okay. That is accurate.
Let's hear it. Let's hear the actual. What do you got, Sandy? Back it up. Back up your claim.
Okay. I think that there are a lot of European players that are very good, and I think that there's like that's fine. But Europe in general, they are good players who like to have fun, who play Thrones to have fun. And I think
Would you
that
say, Sandy? Would you say they're competitively hollow?
no, I don't want to go that far. But I think like
Deep memes.
I've known Seth for a while. Like I've played against Seth. I don't think there is anyone that takes the game as like seriously as Seth does. Even other world championship players. Like I honestly have so much respect for him because he is like when it comes to playing the game, he is like super serious about it. And while there are other players that like are as good, and I think there are a lot of other players that are as good, I think the level of like effort they put into it is like not that much compared to him.
But Seth's super seriousness has manifested into one nationals win of about 50 players. You know, I mean, what are we saying, Sandy? Come on.
I'm saying that variance is a real thing, but
What?
I think that if I had to pick top 3 best players in the world right now, like, and they all played, best 2 out of 3 games to see who wins or whatever.
Let's hear it. Top 3. Start with 3. This is good. This is good podcast material. Let's go number 3.
So I actually can't decide who's number 3, who's number
Oh my
2.
God! You
was
just
gonna-
said number 3.
Yeah,
Let's go.
In no particular
Take a
order.
drink of wine, Sandy.
Put them in order,
Come up
man.
with-
Come
up
on.
with- take a shot or whatever.
Throw a pair
come
and
up
give
with
us
your
your
answer.
top 3. This is why you're here.
I mean, I know who the top 3 are. I don't know the order they're in.
Give me
I
number
think
Give us
3.
the top 3.
Give me your
Just,
number 3.
just be arbitrary, man. Just be arbitrary.
If I had to be arbitrary, I'd say, oh God, I'm gonna get in so much trouble, guys.
Let's
do
go. Wait.
I think
Do
the third best player is probably Ryan Jones.
Ooh, okay, I'll take
Good
it.
pick.
That's a reasonable choice.
Let's go to number 2.
I think the second best player. Well, so we're talking about players that play competitively in tournaments. We're not
Yes.
talking about players who are behind the scenes or like don't play or like.
Right,
so those players
Corey
would not
Faraday
make the
is
list.
excluded
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I'm not including Corey or Alvaro or anybody that doesn't play anymore.
Okay.
So I think the second best player is. I think it's probably Seth.
Okay.
I honestly don't know who's better between Seth and Ryan. I want to see that. I want to see that matchup go like. I want to go.
Oh, we did at the draft.
They played a
Yeah.
melee game once.
Yeah, this is my point. Like, let's have them play.
Also,
Yeah,
draft
and neither of them
2019, right?
won.
And draft. And Ryan did win that draft.
Anyway,
Number one.
I do want
And as all good top 3 lists, number 1's reserved for God. Isn't that right, Ryan Jones?
gotta be careful.
I have to give it to a European though. Like I have never seen anyone play with the consistency and skill of Tomas. I've never seen anyone play that way. And with the possible exception of Corey. And I've played this game for a while. You guys have got I am so much like I'm looking forward to the Americans taking over Stalik. I'm looking forward to Tomas taking over Worlds. You guys do not know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
The guy doesn't make mistakes.
It's not
True.
It's not just that. Like he's played the deck enough times to know the statistical distribution. Like you don't no one has played the same deck 500 games in a row but him. And
He's
again,
like Rain Man. He's like Rain Man with the numbers and the probabilities and the.
I don't know, man. I don't know how good players do it.
I
But
was more thinking like a beautiful mind where he can do the all right, 60 Lanny Reigns.
Win.
And again, this is people that currently play that I have played against. Like I know, for example, there's a lot of 1.0 players that are really good. I'd have a hard time narrowing this list down. But in 2.0 players that I've played against in the last year, those are the 3 that I would pick. I think the ordering is somewhat arbitrary, but everyone else who thinks they're good, you're overrated. Sorry.
So someone who might be considered top 5 overrated. Not
Somebody
just
might
these 3.
be, I don't know, continental champion might be overrated.
Although, have
Very
you
possible.
played Showenthal recently?
No, but I saw him at Kubla. He kicked the shit out of a lot of people.
Oh, the one
He
that I
won.
know.
Which he
Which he
won.
won. You did win.
Yeah.
He won.
Also
And
didn't
I've
drop a
said
game
this
that day.
before. Kubla does not get the numbers of some of these big international
Oh
tournaments.
my god, it's such
But-
a tough field.
But the competitive field of Kubla is insane because it's the very best of Southern California, Northern California, and visitors. It's
we've-
so freaking hard to win Kubla. It's insane.
We've got both kind of players, California players and not California players.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, tournaments like Kubla, Red Saturday that are smaller fields, they are pretty frustrating.
So this is something I will say about Fracas, if we can go back full circle, right? Fracas has almost 200 people that ended up not dropping after round 1 or whatever. And I think that you do if you lose your first 2 games at Fracas, you actually feel like it's a fairly soft tournament. Because there are a lot of people that are just there for the community to have fun, to play games, and they'll go 4-4 like me. They'll go 3-5. They'll have fun and they'll play the game. And so you go there and you have that kind of experience, and you're like, oh, this is easy. But if you go 4-0, your last 4 games are gonna kick the shit out of you. They are serious players who play a lot and yeah. I think it's a totally different experience. I will say that I probably did not play against the best players at Fracas, but I watched a lot of games. I will stand by my you are overrated if you're not one of these 3 players. And I'm Buzz. You don't think you see Alex is shit compared to everybody else?
I mean, Trig is up there on my list probably, but I mean, there's so many good players.
I mean, Trig gave us fucking Lanny Reigns with the Erie, which I will never forgive Trig for.
yeah.
Like,
I mean-
fuck that innovation.
Trig needs new cards. He needs other cards. In 1.0, he was a wizard, right? But
It's true. We did
now,
totally steal the Viz attachment deck from him. That he
Yeah.
offhandedly told Alex Hines that he had this deck about Viz, and then Dan and Dave were like, "What could that deck be?" And then we spent a day
Yeah.
finding it out. So
Last time I talked to him,
Sandy played that at Gen Con.
Yeah.
he thought it was in a good place, and he's such a control player. He plays control, negative play experience decks, anything that wins, that it's plays slow and passive, doesn't let you do anything. He loves that kind of stuff. And the game is not there yet for him, and thus, at the moment, I don't think he's like a star player like he was. He will be.
He still did really well at Batala, though, right? Didn't he top?
Oh yeah. He will get to the cut but I mean, there's a lot of people who consistently get into cuts but aren't like excellent players.
Now that was some hardcore shade. That was some general shade.
Yeah, it
okay.
was.
Can we go any deeper further? Is there anything interesting in the chat, gentlemen, which I think is pretty active, which again shows us that we should just permanently replace Aaron with Sandy.
That's a great idea. He's much more personable.
Plus,
Sandy,
University
stay in Colombia. Is that where he is? I
No,
think that's where he
not
is.
Sandy. Aaron. He is in Colombia. Yes. I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell.
So, okay, a couple, I guess, of announcements then. The post GenCon episode, which could be next week, could be 2 weeks from now. If it's 2 weeks from now, I will be on it. If it's only a week from now, I will not, because I will be in Nova Scotia not doing Thrones things. Like
Should be 2 weeks from now, I think.
2 weeks from now. I mean, unless I don't know,
Yeah.
stars align. But we will have a post GenCon episode. Hopefully, we'll be able to have. Hopefully, one of the three people here will be one of the winners. If not, we hope to have the winner and the second place person, probably Seth.
When is GenCon exactly?
GenCon, the joust is Saturday.
This Saturday. Okay.
This coming Saturday, yeah.
This coming
Yeah.
Saturday. There will not be a stream, obviously.
No stream, no live
but-
updates.
But
Is
Can I
someone
say-
going to be helping us out?
excuse me, but Rob St. John will be there. He will be recording games. Hopefully, the final table game will not just be what Chris uses as a mood elevator for when he's had a bad day. It will actually be on YouTube. But we'll see. We'll see. You never know who's there or who's not. But so if you're there at Gen Con, please, again, Sandy, what is the passphrase to get free drinks from you?
I don't know. Whatever you want.
No.
No, it was.
Was,
Are you leaving us for Rokugan?
for the world of
Yes.
Rokugan.
Rokugan. Okay, you say that to Sandy, you will get a free drink.
You
If you
can
come
also
say hi
say
to me
it's
and say
overrated.
you are a fan of the Second Sons, I will give you an alt art Bera house card and other things. Chris, do you want what should your adoring fans do and say?
I don't know. I'll have my cards with me. People should sign my cards. I like it when people write goofy stuff on my cards.
That is a
So,
fun
you can-
experience.
You can come do that. That'd be cool. I don't know that I'll have any special swag. I have a box of alt arts I could bring that I could make it rain on people if they wanted. I do want to, aside from Gen Con, plug an event that is coming up. It will be after our next episode as well, but it will be like probably 2 days after our next episode. So I want to plug it now in case anyone's on the fence about it. And that is the Siege at Highgarden. It will be at Outflank Games in Central California. I don't remember what city specifically, but
Fairfield,
the Great
California.
Jones.
You gonna be there,
Fairfield,
Sid?
California.
I will
the
be
Great
there for
Jones
most
himself
of it.
will be going. Sid will make his usual 2-round appearance, beat me and drop, which is very
Two
rude.
to three. 2 to 3. I did beat you.
But yeah,
Rob,
the
last
NorCal
year.
guys put on a
You're
great
playing
show.
Rose
and
Patrol. That's all that matters.
I'll
There's
be
some
there
sweet
if,
alt arts up
if
for
someone-
grabs, so
Yeah, it looks like
everybody
a good
should
turn.
come to that.
I'll be there if someone can drive me from the Bay Area. I'm gonna be in the Bay Area on Friday, so
Sandy,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
no.
do that. I can be the guy
Definitely
who
get
does
that.
that.
So you can do that, and then you can drive back with Sid
Also
after you play
bring me
3
a
rounds of
back-
drops.
But I have to drop early, so I I could
We'll
drive
give him a
you
ride
and
back.
leave you. I'll dump you there.
We'll get you a ride back, Sandy. If you can make it, we'll get you.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get you. We'll get you to Bart at
Yeah.
least. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess theoretically they have trains in SoCal. They're not like
No.
but
This is Northern California, Sandy. This is Northern California.
oh, sorry, San Francisco.
SoCal,
They have
they
the
do
BART.
not have trains, but they do have trains in Northern California. So we'll get you back.
All right. Can I just clarify one thing real fast? Jakob Holtzman is not overrated. He's the other player in Europe that is not overrated.
We just
fair.
haven't seen him since Worlds, right? So we
Yeah,
need
exactly.
to see him
I haven't
back.
played against him.
Buzz, give us Buzz, give us the secret sauce. Jakob, second half of 2017. This going to be him, or what's going on with Jakob?
I haven't played since Dalek, I think. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not
Buzz
sure.
doesn't play anymore.
It's true. Buzz is our
But
representative of people who
it's
don't
been
play the
almost
game
a
anymore
year.
this episode.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna plug an event that's happening before our next episode, which is Nordic Championships, which I'm going to play in.
There we go.
It's
that
our
Marburg?
nationals.
I
It's in
can
awesome.
confirm
yes.
though.
So wait,
I
does
can
the person who
independently
wins? Wait, this is very important for us. So Buzz, if you win, or because last year was who was the you get to go to Worlds if you win.
Yes, I paid a trip for Tupac,
Linus wants to go.
and Nordic's winner is going to Stalek to Worlds, paid by first player Samuel Lindes, Jakob's brother's company. The
That's
guys
great.
who runs the tournament.
Thank you.
Wait.
I'm doing
So-
Samuel's Jakob's
Buzz-
brother.
Yes.
I
How
had
did you
no
know?
idea.
What the fuck?
They do
I just
have
thought they were
different
like
last
good
names,
buddies.
which
I
makes it
had no
difficult
idea
for-
they were
No,
related.
they're brothers.
in
That's
our
amazing.
bourgeois American society, people with different names, we just can't identify them as
Yeah.
blood kindred very easily. But
Jakob
what
is
was I
still
gonna
very much in
Oh, yeah.
in the game and in the meta, and he
Oh, yeah.
he is
Yeah.
preparing
And in
for
our
his
hearts.
comeback. I can confirm.
All right, so Jakob. So we should expect Jakob at Worlds because he will win the Nordic Championship. Deny it from Buzz. That's my dream final watching the stream is Jakob versus Buzz. What tournament was it last year that was you versus Jakob?
Me
Was that-
versus
it wasn't
Jack
Nordic.
in the final. No, I can't
Was it-
remember.
It was
No,
one tournament though. I remember
Not in a final.
you were both
I
playing
don't
Nice
think.
Watch Wolf against each other.
Oh yeah, it was top 4 of Nordics. Yeah, and
Oh,
I was
top
in
4
the
of Nordics.
final. Yeah.
You were in the final. Okay.
Let's announce it now too. Roy, Chris, Second Sons will be 60%, maybe 75%. We'll be hosting a party at Worlds 2017. It's going to be amazing. So
Yep.
everyone listening, make
I
a
mean,
little
this is news to me,
space
so
on your
this is
calendar.
great. I'm
No,
excited.
Chris, this is happening right now in my head, and it's going to happen for real.
Sid and I
because-
had talked about this in the past. So.
Love
briefly, and
streams.
we're gonna make. I'm putting it out there right now. Second Sons after party at Worlds. This will be the place to be, everybody. So
Yeah, no, I'm super
come
into
to
this.
Worlds
I like it.
and be there because Roy and I and Chris, you're coming to Worlds, right?
It depends a lot on the FFG schedule. If I
Okay,
can make
Chris,
it
Chris
2
is coming,
days
to be
or
fair, I'm
fewer,
Chris will
also
be.
like if the joust is on Wednesday, I'm gonna probably say I won't be coming this year. I'll be
No.
honest.
Yeah,
If
same.
I know one thing about Chris is that he's not gonna miss Worlds. No.
Well, if
That's
Chris
not gonna
goes,
happen.
I'm
That's not gonna happen. So. Second Sons will host the party to be at Worlds, and it's going to be off the chain. I don't know what night it'll be on. We have to wait to see the schedule
now-
because FFG never posts a schedule. But everyone's invited to this
we
amazing
should definitely
soiree.
remind you that the Best Thrones party at GenCon is at Casablanca, which is next to the Microtel. It is not downtown. All right. It is an Uber ride, a car ride, a hitchhike, catch an Uber with one of the many people who are staying out by the Microtel.
and these are not options. It's all those things combined to get there.
Yes, to get there, hitchhike, whatever. You should be there, though. And Chris can testify. Sandy can definitely testify as well. This is an amazing after party. There'll be karaoke. There'll be drinking. This is a great time to give the keyword to Sandy to get as many free drinks because Sandy will probably be so drunk he won't remember who you are when you go back for the second round from him. So that's always a good trick. So you should be there. Like if you are a Thrones player watching this and you are at GenCon, come to the Microtel after party.
Microtel.
Because we start at the bar. Tommy or Sandy or Dan bribes the owner to keep the bar open way later than it's supposed to because Indiana is a very boring place. Sorry, Luke. I know you're watching this episode. And
I don't think he disagrees.
bars close way too early. And then we go to the Microtel fucking conference room lobby and drink and complain about how 1.0 is better than 2.0. And Chris Kaiser talks about how if only Nate had listened to him in 2.0 core testing, the game would be better. And so these are the experiences that you too can have at GenCon 2017 if you come to the Microtel and Casablanca. So please,
I'm excited.
Friends, countrymen, Thrones players, come to that after party. Come say hi. I'll probably be wearing a White Book jersey or my ETX shirt. Those are sort of my 2 Thrones Day events.
Can we get on making the Second Sons jerseys? I'm tired of not having one.
That's something we could do. Well, hopefully, you know what? I'll try to have one. I'll try to have it done for Stolic.
I like it.
All right. So that's it. End of episode. Good night, everybody.
Good night.